Meet Leon, an OP mage fighting a massive demon king in a high-stakes fantasy world. As the giant skeletal boss laughs and declares that this is his final moment, but our exhausted hero refuses to back down even when pushed to his absolute limits, staring down a colossal sphere of swirling fire that threatens to consume the entire battlefield. Suddenly, a brilliant blue light begins to gather in the palm of his hand, allowing him to counter with a massive surge of freezing elemental energy. Shouting his enemy's name, Leon channels every ounce of his remaining power into the spell, stomping his foot down to shatter the ground and unleash a frostbite apocalypse, which sends towering pillars of jagged ice racing directly toward the shocked Demon King. This freezing torrent completely engulfs the giant monster, trapping him in a solid glacier, shattering his skeletal armor as he screams in utter disbelief at his sudden defeat. With one final threat, the Demon King explodes into a blinding flash of light. Leon stands amidst the falling debris, catching his breath as the dust finally settles. Closing his eyes in relief, he realizes the long and brutal war is finally over, leaving the world free from the dark shadow of the demon army's terror. Naturally, he gets a massive hero's welcome, parading through cheering crowds on a white horse. Seeking some quiet time, he heads back to the peaceful orphanage where he grew up, stepping out of a fancy carriage while the local staff bows in deep respect, until a familiar voice calling his name suddenly makes him turn around in surprise, revealing a cute little girl clutching a teddy bear running out to greet him. Leon tells the little girl he has to head out, asking her to be good while he's gone, and she happily agrees, demanding another magic lesson the second he gets back, which brings our hero to the royal castle, walking down a massive red carpet, where the king and Prince Shark are already waiting to give him a grand welcome. Kneeling before the royals, Leon politely greets the prince after their long time apart, but a sudden familiar voice from behind instantly catches him completely off guard, revealing Princess Sarah, who is absolutely thrilled to see her favorite hero again. Turns out the king personally invited her from a neighboring country just for this meeting, mentioning how she rushed over the very second she heard Leon would be visiting. Trying to get down to business, Leon asks why he was summoned to the palace, prompting the king to reveal a mysterious cave where monsters are still spawning, leaving our boy completely shocked since he literally just put down the Demon King. Apparently, anyone who enters this creepy cave never makes it back alive, though the king is totally relaxed because he knows Leon can handle anything, inspiring Leon to keep fighting so he can protect this hard-won peace, especially when he thinks about the bright future of the kids back home. So he formally bows and accepts the mission to investigate the monster cave. Of course, the king immediately ruins the serious moment by bringing up marriage with Sarah, forcing a very awkward laugh out of Leon, who thinks this is way too fast, while the royals just chuckle at his sheer panic as the new quest begins. Prince Shark flashes a charming smile, seemingly thrilled to lead the upcoming investigation, while the king advises Leon to rest up at the castle before heading out tomorrow. Bright and early the next morning, our hero waits outside the bustling town square, watching as the prince arrives fully geared up alongside a couple of royal guards. Shark politely expresses his excitement to work together, putting on a perfect gentleman act, which Leon happily returns with a firm handshake, completely unaware of any hidden danger. Soon, the group arrives at the towering cliffside entrance of the ominous monster cave, prompting our cautious hero to warn everyone to stay alert as they step inside. Deep within the cavern, creepy purple roots twist and coil through the dark, suffocating air, making Leon realize this bizarre energy must be why so many people went missing. Turning around to tell the prince to watch his step, he barely gets a word out, because Shark suddenly drives a blade straight through his back in a shocking betrayal. Falling to his knees, Leon gasps for air as a deadly poison rapidly takes hold, staring up in utter disbelief at the man he once considered a trusted ally. Shark sneers, explaining that Leon is in his way of winning over Princess Sarah, leaving our hero furious since he only wanted to protect the kids back home. This treacherous prince just lets out a dark, twisted chuckle at Leon's pure innocence, throwing his head back in maniacal laughter as his true, sinister nature is fully revealed. He then drops a devastating bombshell, claiming those precious kids are already gone forever, as a burnt, torn teddy bear head rolls onto the ground before our horrified hero. Shark casually grinds the burnt teddy bear under his boot, admitting he burned the orphanage to the ground. His twisted face breaks into a sadistic grin, suggesting they can all reunite in the afterlife. Staring up in absolute horror, Leon feels his entire world shatter into a million pieces. Before our hero can even process the grief, a sudden strike sends him reeling backward, sending him tumbling over the edge of the deep, dark abyss with zero mercy. This prince bids him a mocking farewell, thanking the great hero of justice for his service. Plunging into the darkness, Leon grits his teeth as pure, unadulterated hatred consumes his soul. Suddenly, his eyes snap open as he gasps for air, coughing up freezing water. Sitting up in a glowing underground pool, he realizes the poison somehow failed to kill him, but the memory of that smug prince's rail immediately burns fresh in his mind, prompting our boy to slam his fist down, swearing absolute vengeance against his former ally. Dragging his exhausted body out of the water, he takes a look around his grim surroundings. Navigating this massive, suffocating cavern is going to be a nightmare, especially without any gear. Things get even worse when a terrifying skeletal wolf covered in purple flames blocks his path. Thinking fast, Leon channels his remaining mana to summon a blazing fireball in his palm, unleashing a massive explosion that completely obliterates the undead beast in a single shot, leaving our overpowered mage standing coolly in the smoke, ready to find an exit, until a glowing blue system window suddenly materializes over the pile of shattered bones, revealing a secret quest that requires him to defeat 1 million monsters to escape. Before he can even complain about the grind, another flaming beast spawns right behind him. Unleashing a fiery explosion, Leon blasts another monster to clear his immediate path. as a system window confirms his kill count has officially ticked up to 2. Realizing he cannot just stand around, our boy decides to search for an exit, but the deeper he goes, the more skeletal remains he finds pinned to the walls, making him realize these are the tragic souls who went missing before him. Dropping to his knees, the sheer weight of his grim situation begins to set in, though he quickly grits his teeth, refusing to let this cave be his grave. From that day on, he wages a one-man war against an endless horde of undead beasts, surviving an entire year of non-stop grinding just to reach 10,000 kills. Clinging to his sanity through sheer willpower, he continues to tear through the monsters, fueled entirely by a burning hatred for the treacherous prince who ruined his life. Eventually, hitting the 100,000 milestone unlocks a brand new type of power for him, granting him a mysterious dark attribute magic that he has never even heard of. Yet, he embraces this sinister energy, knowing it is his ticket to absolute vengeance. A staggering 10 years pass in the blink of an eye amidst mountains of bones, transforming our boy into a battle-hardened warrior dripping with dark, chaotic energy, until the counter finally hits the legendary mark of 1 million slain monsters. Suddenly, a glowing notification pops up to congratulate him on completing the impossible secret quest, while a mysterious pleading voice echoes in his mind, begging him for help, before a massive golden gateway swings wide open to lead him back to the world. Leon, our overpowered mage, suddenly gets reincarnated into a modern school fantasy after stepping through the portal, falling through a dark void while wondering if he will ever reach the surface. Suddenly, he wakes up floating face down, in a pool of cool, clear water, staring at a completely unfamiliar face reflecting back at him in utter confusion. Dragging himself up, he realizes he is sitting inside a fountain, outside a massive school, completely lost as he tries to understand where in the world he has landed. Before he can process anything, a smug voice suddenly calls out to mock him, revealing a group of arrogant students who treat this new body like a personal punching bag. Looking up, our hero asks who they are, completely unaware of his new identity as Kurobane, which absolutely infuriates the red-haired bully who snaps at him to stop playing dumb. This angry thug grabs Leon by the hair, forcing his head back down toward the water, violently shoving him under while screaming at him to wake up and face reality. Underwater, our boy's eyes flash with sudden irritation as he decides to test his magic, instantly channeling his water attribute magic to summon a defensive spell called Armor Flood. A massive geyser of water violently erupts from the fountain, catching the bullies completely off guard, sending the red-haired ringleader flying backward through the air with a shocked scream. Leon stands up majestically amidst the splashing water, leaving the remaining lackeys absolutely terrified, as they stare at his glowing purple eyes and wonder how a weakling did this. Sweating bullets, the lead bully tries to save face before quickly calling for a retreat, running away in pure panic while our confused hero just watches them flee. A mysterious voice commends Leon for unleashing such immense power despite his magic being heavily suppressed, prompting our hero to look up in confusion at a glowing purple orb floating above him. This strange light suggests they find a quieter spot to talk before drifting away from the fountain, leaving Leon with no choice but to follow the mysterious entity up the school stairs. Once they reach a secluded area, the floating orb decides it is finally safe to speak, but a sudden flash of blinding purple light forces Leon to shield his eyes in pain. Out of the magical glow emerges a cute blue-haired girl floating gracefully in the air, who immediately tackles our shocked hero in a tight hug, thrilled to finally meet him. Gently holding her back, Leon demands to know who she is and what is actually happening. This little girl politely introduces herself as Luna, explaining she is a messenger of the goddess. While Leon tries to process this bizarre title, Luna turns around to explain her true role, delivering a shocking revelation that she is actually a guide meant to escort the dead. She explains that Leon actually died in that dark abyss and has now possessed a new body. Our hero sits in silence on a stone ledge, struggling to accept this unbelievable new reality. Though Luna apologizes for the confusion, Leon reassures her that he has already sorted his thoughts. He still wonders why the goddess chose to transfer his soul to this modern world. Before Luna can answer, a massive pillar of green light suddenly erupts right next to them, revealing a towering, ancient stone gateway that pulses with an overwhelming amount of magical energy. Smiling at the perfect timing, Luna gestures toward the portal to finally give him his answers. Our battle-hardened hero stares in absolute awe at the mysterious gateway standing before him. Leon steps through the glowing green portal, expecting a quick trip back to his old world, but instead he finds himself staring at a ruined, blood-red wasteland crawling with danger. A massive foot stomps down, confirming these are the exact same monsters from his past life. Specifically the Grandsaurus, a giant armored beast protected by an incredibly tough magic barrier. Remembering it took him 3 whole days to beat this thing before, our boy gets ready, though Luna quickly chimes in, reminding him that his newly acquired magic makes this a breeze. Suddenly, he remembers the dark attribute magic he unlocked after grinding those 100,000 monsters, just as the giant red dinosaur lets out a deafening roar right in his face. Swirling purple energy erupts around him, answering his call as he prepares to unleash his power, thrusting his hand forward to activate a spell he has never actually tested in combat. Instantly, his Deprivation of Blessing spell completely shatters the beast's legendary defensive shield, leaving the giant monster completely vulnerable and wide open for a devastating follow-up strike. Purple spikes erupt from the ground to pin the beast's massive foot in place. before Leon unleashes his deadly claws spell, tearing through the air with absolute ferocity. This massive beast gets sliced to ribbons by the overwhelming dark magic, completely helpless to resist, crashing heavily onto the dirt as a single shot ends what used to be a boss-level threat. Luna immediately starts jumping up and down, cheering for her incredibly overpowered master, while Leon stares at his glowing hands, absolutely stunned by the ridiculous scale of his power. Standing victorious over his fallen foe, he realizes his 10 years of grinding really paid off, though he still cannot help but glare at his cheerful guide for keeping this a secret. Leon complains that she left out way too much crucial information, prompting a quick apology. But after a moment of silence, our boy finally grasps the gravity of his new situation, asking if the notorious demon King Belfar is also crossing over to this modern world. Luna confirms his suspicions, explaining that the massive portal was created by the Demon King's dark influence, warning him that leaving these gates active will eventually lead to the complete destruction of humanity. Hearing this, Leon finally realizes why the goddess sent a divine guide to escort him here, though he still cannot help but wonder why his mortal enemy is targeting this world. Suddenly, his eyes lock onto a nearby flag bearing a highly familiar golden crest, instantly recognizing it as the exact mark of the treacherous prince who brutally betrayed him. Clenching his fist in absolute rage, our hero struggles to keep his murderous intent under control, forcing Luna to quickly excuse herself and vanish back into her hidden spirit form, just as a sharp, rhythmic clicking of footsteps echoes from the stone stairs nearby. Startled by the sudden intrusion, Leon turns around to see who is calling out to him, meeting a beautiful blonde-haired student council member who politely asks for a moment of his time. Stepping closer to him on the secluded rooftop, she gets straight to the point, asking our hero if he happened to witness a magical gate appearing in this exact area. Instantly, Luna's voice echoes in his mind, frantically warning him to play dumb and avoid trouble. Following her advice, Leon smoothly lies about seeing anything, though the girl remains highly suspicious, until she suddenly takes a closer look at his face and gasps in realization, wondering if he is the same weakling who was getting bullied by those delinquents earlier. Bowing deeply, the student council president sincerely apologizes for failing to protect him from the bullies, admitting she tried to stop them but simply noticed the situation far too late. Scratching his head, Leon tells her there is absolutely no need to apologize for their actions, quietly noting to himself that she seems like a remarkably upright and honest person. Satisfied with his answer, the blonde girl bids him farewell and heads back to the dorms. Once they are alone, Luna pops back out, thoroughly impressed by the girl's sharp magical senses, teasing our hero about raising a romance flag like some kind of visual novel protagonist. Night quickly falls over the academy, prompting Leon to finally make his way to the dorms. Arriving at his door, he finds it completely covered in hateful sticky notes and nasty graffiti, while the surrounding students snicker in the hallway, confirming his status as the school's ultimate pariah. Grabbing the handle, he realizes the polite student council president was definitely a rare exception here. Inside the room, Luna is absolutely furious on his behalf, screaming about how vulgar these humans are, though Leon calmly cleans up the messy room, pitying the original owner of this body. Sitting down, our hero asks his divine guide to explain how this strange school actually operates, wondering if his treacherous betrayer also crossed over to this world alongside the Demon King. Unfortunately, Luna admits her knowledge is limited, as she does not know everything about this realm, explaining that despite keeping an eye on things, she has seen no trace of the prince. Leon contemplates this mystery, realizing he will have to investigate the treacherous prince's whereabouts himself, resolving to learn the rules of this academy while keeping his burning desire for vengeance alive. Morning light eventually streams through the window, signaling the start of his very first school day. Grabbing a pair of scissors from the sink, Leon decides it is time for a quick makeover, and Luna immediately showers him with compliments, absolutely loving his sharp new haircut in the mirror, though our hero reminds her that they still need to mimic the original Kurobane's weak behavior, resolving to do his absolute best as he blends in with the whispering crowd of students. Walking through the gates, his clean look and confident posture make him look like a completely different person, but as he sits in class, he realizes how little he actually knows about this modern society. It turns out that mysterious magical gates suddenly began appearing across the globe several years ago, unleashing dangerous monsters that humans had to defeat to harvest valuable mana crystals from within, leading to the rise of professional hunters known as Seekers, whose numbers continue to grow rapidly. This prestigious academy was specifically built to train these new magic users for the front lines. Suddenly, a loud shout echoes from the training grounds, catching Leon's attention during his walk, revealing the student council president, Izumiya Makoto, effortlessly summoning a massive barrage of sharp ice spears. Watching her from a nearby window, our boy quietly admits that her magical control is actually quite impressive, before turning away to focus on his main goal of locating his treacherous royal betrayer. His thoughts are suddenly cut short when a familiar mocking voice calls out his new name, as the red-haired bully from yesterday appears with his lackeys for some easy entertainment. Slapping an arm around Leon's shoulder, the thug smugly demands that he go buy him some bread, prompting our completely unfazed hero to look him dead in the eye and suggest he buy it himself. Our hero's blunt response instantly infuriates the bully, his face twisting in pure rage at the sudden disrespect. While he starts screaming threats, the student council president quietly watches the confrontation from down the hall. This red-haired bully immediately launches a glowing stone attack, aiming to crush our completely unfazed hero, prompting the student council president to rush forward and desperately scream at them to stop. But the massive stone hammer is already flying through the air at high speed, Watching the projectile approach, Leon simply sighs in annoyance at this incredibly weak attempt, preparing to unleash his dark attribute magic to teach this arrogant punk a lesson. Instantly, a massive wall of cracking purple energy erupts right in front of the bully, as Leon casually activates his Grim Eater spell to completely neutralize the incoming threat, shattering the giant boulder into harmless dust before it can even touch him. This hallway falls dead silent as the residual dark magic slowly dissipates around them, leaving the red-haired thug sweating in absolute terror while the president watches in disbelief. Without saying another word, our hero casually walks away and leaves the stunned bullies behind, while the student council president stares at his back, completely unable to process his power. After school, Leon finds a threatening note demanding he show up at the training grounds. Though Luna advises him to just ignore it, Leon decides to go settle this permanently, wanting to eliminate any annoying hindrances that might get in the way of his goals. Luna gets hilariously hyped to throw some hands, though Leon quickly tells her to stay hidden before heading out to the dimly lit training grounds where the thugs are already waiting. This furious bully immediately demands to know how a weakling like him used such magic, ordering his lackeys to back off so he can personally teach our hero a lesson. And Leon calmly agrees on one condition. If he wins, they never bother him again. This red-haired bully bursts out laughing, mocking our hero for suddenly acting so incredibly tough. Completely unfazed, Leon simply gestures for him to bring it on and stop wasting time. This quiet confidence absolutely infuriates the thug, who eagerly prepares to start the fight. But instead of fighting fair, he immediately orders his lackeys to ambush our hero. Unleashing a barrage of elemental magic, the two thugs charge forward to crush him. Our red-haired punk cackles, proudly admitting that his promise of a one-on-one duel was a lie, though Leon's glowing purple eyes reveal that he fully expected this pathetic betrayal anyway. Casually raising his hand, our boy prepares to counter their combined assault with ease, activating his Denial Mirror spell to summon a swirling shield of dark attribute magic. Instantly, the incoming elemental attacks are reflected right back at the cheating lackeys, blasting them across the training grounds as their own magic completely overwhelms them. This red-haired bully stares in absolute horror, unable to comprehend how his lackeys were defeated, while Leon slowly steps forward, calmly explaining that he will never fall for sneak attacks again. Swirling purple flames erupt from his hand as he warns them that betrayals carry heavy consequences, leaving the lone bully trembling in fear under the dim lights of the training field. He desperately tries to understand what kind of power he is actually dealing with, realizing this dark energy does not belong to any of the 4 standard magical attributes. Trying to mask his terror, the thug points a trembling finger and calls Leon useless. But his voice quickly cuts off as a suffocating pressure fills the entire area. Unleashing his terrifying aura, our hero looks down on the bully with absolute cold fury. This arrogant bully tries to scream out a spell, but his voice instantly catches in his throat, as Leon's dark attribute magic relentlessly drains every last drop of mana directly from his body. Swirling purple energy wraps around our hero's hand, absorbing the stolen power with absolute ease, leaving the terrified thug completely speechless as he realizes his magic has been utterly neutralized, and before he can even process his defeat, his vision fades into total darkness. Face-planting onto the cold ground, the bully collapses into unconsciousness, completely drained of his strength. Luna pops back out to praise Leon, explaining that stealing mana is the true essence of dark magic, while our boy calmly notes that these annoying punks probably won't be bothering him anytime soon. But their quiet victory is suddenly interrupted by a deafening siren echoing across the entire campus. High-pitched speakers blare a frantic evacuation warning, sending a wave of panic through the night air, announcing that an active gate has suddenly materialized right inside the prestigious academy grounds. Even worse, the broadcast confirms it is a Category Red threat, the absolute highest danger level possible. Inside the school building, doors fly open as chaos erupts throughout the hallways, prompting the student council president to take charge, directing terrified students to evacuate into the city. Determined to protect her school, Makoto declares her intention to seal the dangerous gate herself, though a panicked teacher desperately tries to stop her, citing strict orders from the headmaster. He warns that her reckless behavior could bring absolute ruin to the academy if she fails, reminding her of the catastrophic collateral damage caused by previous red gates in neighboring areas. Unfazed by his warning, the blonde president argues that protecting people is the exact reason they train, resolving to seal the gate and handle the crisis before things can spiral completely out of control. A massive red gate bursts open, unleashing a pack of ferocious wolf monsters onto the campus, while terrified students scramble for their lives as the beasts quickly close the distance. One cornered student desperately summons a stone spike from his arm to defend himself, but the lead wolf easily crushes his weak magic with its massive jaws, leaving the poor guy completely defenseless as the pack prepares to tear him apart. Suddenly, a barrage of sharp ice spears rains down, instantly impaling the monsters, saving the student just in the nick of time as the wolves freeze solid, revealing the student council president standing tall with her powerful ice magic fully charged. She quickly orders the shaken boy to regroup with others and evacuate immediately, watching him run off while worrying about the remaining students in the nearby city. Stealing her resolve, the blonde president realizes she cannot wait for backup to arrive, deciding that she must enter the dangerous gate and defeat the boss herself. Observing from afar, Leon and Luna witness the brave president charge straight into the portal, Our hero calmly asks his divine guide what needs to be done to close it, prompting Luna to explain that they must eliminate the powerful boss monster inside. Leon immediately prepares to follow her, but the little spirit hesitates to let him go, warning him that his dark attribute magic consumes an immense amount of precious mana. Gently interrupting her, our boy explains that he isn't doing this for anyone else, leaving the small guide silent as she listens to his true motivations, before he declares that he simply cannot ignore a threat this devastating. Watching him prepare, Luna can't help but tease our hero for being such a softie, but Leon simply brushes it off and readies himself to leap straight into action, launching himself directly into the swirling red portal with his loyal spirit guide right behind him. Meanwhile, the exhausted student council president is struggling to catch her breath inside the cavern, quickly realizing that a Category Red dungeon is way more than she can handle alone. Before she can even recover, a massive red serpent monster suddenly rears up behind her, leaving the blonde president completely defenseless as she turns around in absolute panic. Just as the beast strikes, a devastating burst of dark magic shreds the monster to pieces, shielding Makoto from the impact and leaving her staring in total disbelief at the purple energy. She looks up with wide eyes, trying to process who could possess such terrifying power. Out of the shadows steps our boy, his hands still crackling with residual dark magic. Recognizing his face, she immediately asks if he is the supposedly weak Kurobane Ren, while Luna quietly celebrates their perfect timing as Leon casually stands atop the defeated beast. Our hero simply offers a calm smile, expressing relief that she managed to escape unharmed. However, the president remains highly suspicious, demanding to know his true identity and mysterious magic. Instead of answering, our boy casually deflects her questions, completely unfazed by her intense interrogation. He reminds her that their main priority should be sealing this dangerous gate first. This logical argument catches her completely off guard, forcing her to put her suspicions aside, and she reluctantly agrees that they need to focus on the immediate threat. Still, as they move forward, she can't help but wonder about the rumors surrounding him. Makoto remembers that Leon was ranked dead last during their academy's mock battles, making it impossible to comprehend how he suddenly wields such terrifyingly high-tier magic. But there is no time to waste as they sprint deeper into the cavern, encountering a pack of vicious fire wolves roaming the molten paths of the dungeon. Stepping up to show her own skills, the president unleashes her powerful aqua prison spell, trapping the ferocious beasts inside a massive swirling vortex of high-pressure water, which completely neutralizes the threat before they can even launch an attack. Watching her fight, Leon is genuinely impressed by the top-ranked student's combat prowess. Suddenly, the ground ruptures as a massive stone golem bursts from the earth, towering over our hero with a raised fist, ready to crush him into dust. Casually leaping backward, Leon easily evades the devastating physical strike with perfect timing, channeling his dark attribute magic to prepare a swift and lethal counterattack as he unleashes his blind edge spell to pierce directly through the monster's defenses. Instantly, the giant stone golem crumbles into harmless debris right before Makoto's eyes, leaving her completely stunned by how easily he targeted its weak point in one shot. She realizes his strength is not just about having a rare and unique attribute, noting his flawless execution, which mirrors that of a veteran battle-hardened mage. Shaking off her awe, they finally reach the end of the long cavern tunnel, where Leon asks if she is ready to face the final boss together, confronting a colossal red dragon that roars, marking the beginning of their ultimate dungeon raid. Makoto stares in absolute shock, realizing they are facing a highly dangerous lava dragon. Leon quickly warns her to stay alert, explaining the beast's deadly attack patterns, but the massive monster roars, charging up a devastating blast of pure heat. Instantly, a blinding torrent of fire erupts from its jaws, vaporizing the cavern floor. Before she can even recover, a massive spiked tail swings directly at her face, which smashes into the ground with enough force to shatter the surrounding stone. Realizing our boy's warning was entirely accurate, the president quickly prepares her counterattack, as she launches a massive icicle lance to pierce straight through its fiery hide. Unfortunately, the extreme heat melts her powerful ice spell before it can even connect, leaving her completely stunned by how easily her elemental advantage was neutralized. Calmly stepping forward, Leon assures her that the battle is far from over. He activates his deadly claw spell to unleash a barrage of sharp purple energy, which slices clean through the monster's wing in a single devastating strike. Screaming in agony, the wounded dragon desperately tries to flee deeper into the cavern. Our hero casually complains about the cheap escape tactic, noting the beast can still fly, while Makoto runs to his side, frantically asking how they should stop it, prompting Leon to ask if she can wield any other magical attributes. He requests that she use her magic to slow the fleeing monster down, and she readily agrees, placing her full trust in his tactical genius. Instantly channeling her wind attribute magic to summon a powerful swirling green vortex, Makoto unleashes her wind magic, focusing her energy into a swirling green sphere of high-pressure air, launching her aerial blast spell to trap the massive lava dragon inside a powerful wind vortex, which completely halts the beast's escape as it struggles helplessly against the raging currents, prompting Luna to quickly alert Leon that the giant monster has finally stopped moving. As our boy calmly steps forward to deliver the final blow to the trapped beast, he channels his dark attribute magic, summoning a massive swarm of glowing purple butterflies, before unleashing his ultimate Abyss Ruler spell to completely envelop the terrified dragon. With a casual flick of his wrist, Leon triggers the devastating dark energy, causing a massive purple explosion that completely obliterates the boss monster in an instant, shielding the stunned president from the shockwave as the dark magic slowly fades away. This colossal dragon collapses onto the cavern floor, defeated and dissolving into harmless particles. Luna immediately cheers in absolute delight, praising our hero for his incredible victory, while Makoto looks at him in awe, quietly admitting that he actually pulled it off. Admitting she has countless questions about his identity, but deciding to put them aside, offering a warm smile and a handshake to thank him for the spectacular battle. A bright, fiery portal suddenly wraps around them, transporting the duo back to the academy grounds, where Leon notes that the surrounding area is safe and the monster threat is fully contained. Suddenly, a cold and demanding voice calls out to the president, catching them both off guard, revealing a stern man standing by a luxury car, furious that she ignored his direct orders. As they find themselves face-to-face with the powerful academy headmaster Shido Atsushi. Standing before a sleek luxury car, the duo is confronted by a very displeased older man, who immediately demands to know why the president decided to disobey his direct instructions, prompting our hero to quietly ask his spirit guide for the identity of this arrogant stranger. As Luna explains that he is Shido Atsushi, the incredibly wealthy founder of their academy. Looking at the man, Leon instantly suspects this shady billionaire might have secret ties to Shark. Meanwhile, Makoto steps forward to apologize for her reckless behavior while trying to explain herself, but the headmaster scoffs, telling her that a simple sense of justice is no excuse, demanding to know what she would have done if her little stunt had failed miserably. Intervening on her behalf, Leon calmly suggests that the headmaster should praise her courage instead, which only infuriates the older man, who snaps that a mere outsider has no right to speak, only for Makoto to defend him, declaring that they closed the gate solely because of his help. This shocking revelation catches the headmaster completely off guard as he stares at our boy, before he bursts into hysterical laughter upon recognizing Leon as the school's lowest-ranked student. Calling the claim utterly ridiculous, the arrogant man turns around and walks back to his car, leaving the president desperately calling out to him as he prepares to leave them behind, coldly ordering her to clean up the mess since she has so much free time. With a screech of tires, the luxury vehicle speeds away into the dark night, prompting our boy to resolve that he must investigate the headmaster's suspicious background very soon. Returning to the quiet safety of the academy dorms after a long and exhausting night, our hero and his tired spirit guide finally collapse, glad to survive such a wild day. Back at the dorms, Luna is absolutely fuming over how arrogant the headmaster was, sighing over how poorly everyone treats Ren compared to the highly praised student president. But Leon is completely distracted, quietly flipping through a mysterious notebook he found, which turns out to be the personal diary of the body's original owner, Kurobane Ren, revealing the tragic memories of a boy who was pushed to his absolute mental limits. And as they read further, the sheer cruelty of the academy starts to unfold. Ren had desperately wanted to become a seeker to pay for his sister's medical bills, yet his lack of magical talent made him an easy target for constant bullying, with classmates constantly tormenting him and destroying his belongings without any remorse, leaving the poor kid to endure physical abuse in a living hell every single day, shedding tears of absolute frustration while suffering through the torment in complete silence. This tear-stained pages reveal just how deeply those scars ran before Leon took over, prompting our hero to close the book with a heavy heart and newfound resolve, while Luna watches him anxiously, sensing the cold anger building up inside her master. He stares out into the dark night, determined to make things right for the boy. Our boy quietly vows to deliver absolute justice to everyone who made Ren's life miserable. Meanwhile, the corrupt headmaster is sitting comfortably inside his lavish office late at night, puffing on a cigar while reviewing the files of the students who defied him, scoffing at Ren's abysmal magic scores and wondering how a loser dared to criticize him, smiling maliciously as he plots to have our hero expelled from the academy for good. Taking a warm shower to wash away the exhaustion, Makoto finds herself completely lost in her thoughts, unable to comprehend how the academy's worst student suddenly wields such terrifyingly high-tier dark magic. Grabbing her towel as she tries to make sense of the impossible power she witnessed, resolving that there must be a massive secret behind his sudden and dramatic transformation. This next morning, bright sunlight bathes the academy grounds as a brand new day begins, where our boy is suddenly stopped on the stairs by a cold, demanding voice, revealing the arrogant student council vice president Narusi Shuya, looking down at him with disdain. This smug glasses wearer immediately confronts Leon about his unauthorized entry into the active dungeon gate, accusing him of taking advantage of the chaos to illegally loot valuable magical resources, claiming that the president only defended him to cover up his pathetic lack of talent. Annoyed by the baseless accusations, Leon wonders why this rude Four Eyes is acting so incredibly high and mighty. But the vice president scoffs, refusing to believe a loser who never won a single mock battle. Suddenly, Makoto appears at the top of the staircase, catching both of them completely off guard, announcing to the surprised duo that she has been actively searching for our hero, prompting the dismissive vice president to adjust his glasses, telling Leon to stay out of their way, before politely bidding the president farewell and reminding her about their upcoming afternoon council meeting. Watching him walk away, Makoto anxiously asks Leon if the arrogant guy said anything offensive, which our boy casually brushes off before asking why she was looking for him in the first place, only to learn that the corrupt headmaster has summoned him directly to his private office. Stepping inside, Leon is immediately met with a cold, ruthless demand to drop out of the academy. Shocked by the sudden demand, Makoto demands to know why the headmaster is being so incredibly unreasonable, but the corrupt boss simply tosses Ren's academic records aside while citing his pathetic magic scores, claiming that talentless students have absolutely no future and that expulsion is actually a form of mercy. Hearing this, our boy calmly asks if he simply needs to prove his actual strength to stay, boldly proposing to win every single upcoming mock battle this month to completely cancel his unfair expulsion. This ridiculous wager catches the headmaster completely off guard, making him question if he heard correctly. Glancing down at the official schedule on his desk, the older man spots a very interesting matchup, realizing that our hero is already slated to fight the powerful student council vice president next, which prompts him to accept the reckless bet with a smug smile, expecting a total disaster. Unfazed by the obvious trap, Leon flashes a confident smirk as his dark magical eyes glow with anticipation. Later that night, the quiet student dorms stand tall under the dark sky as the day ends, where a very worried Luna stares wide-eyed at the insane tournament schedule her master just agreed to, while our hero calmly reviews the list of opponents without showing even a single hint of fear. Flashbacks reveal that Makoto had desperately chased him down the hallway right after the meeting ended, pleading with him to take back his word since losing even once means instant academic doom. She acknowledges his hidden strength but warns him that the vice president is a highly skilled opponent, prompting Leon to offer a gentle smile while thanking her for genuinely worrying about his safety, before walking away with absolute determination to show the entire academy what he is truly capable of. Back in the present, his cute spirit guide wonders why he even bothers staying at this school. But Leon explains that staying enrolled is the perfect way to track down the mysterious Shark Syndicate. Leon suspects a deep connection between the corrupt headmaster and the mysterious Shark Syndicate, but Luna chimed in with a wild theory that Shark might actually be possessing the old man, explaining that she can easily sense any otherworldly entities whenever they are nearby. Our boy realizes their main objective remains the same: close the gates and hunt down their targets. Though he suddenly notices his cute spirit guide looking incredibly downcast and sad, she quietly confesses her guilt for dragging him into such a dangerous and heavy-dimensional conflict. Yet Leon quickly reassures her that he is actually quite grateful for this second chance, vowing that this new life allows him to get absolute revenge on those who wronged him, so there is absolutely no reason for her to feel bad about their shared destiny. Hearing his kind words, the little spirit guide stares up at her master in complete awe, silently feeling incredibly glad that he was the one chosen to wield this legendary power. Deciding it is time to turn in, Leon notes he needs some rest before tomorrow's match, prompting Luna to enthusiastically cheer him on to crush the arrogant headmaster's ridiculous expectations. She secretly wishes for all of his deepest desires to finally come true in this world. This next morning, a massive crowd gathers at the Academy Arena for the highly anticipated mock battles, where Leon's first opponent smugly laughs about getting matched with the school's most famous loser, while the mocking spectators in the stands loudly tell the guy to take it easy on him. Unbothered by the insults, our hero simply lets out a quiet sigh as the match begins. Instantly, the arrogant student channels his green wind magic, aiming to finish the fight in one blow, unleashing a massive gale force straight toward Leon, who does not even flinch. This massive wind attack kicks up a huge cloud of dust across the arena, leaving the smug opponent wondering if he accidentally blew his target completely away, only for Leon to suddenly materialize right behind him with a casual whisper, unleashing a devastating earth magic rock blast that sends the bully flying backward. With his opponent knocked out cold, the referee hesitantly declares Ren the winner, sending absolute shockwaves of disbelief through the entire crowd of mocking spectators. While Makoto smiles proudly, the stunned students wonder how a loser moved so fast, prompting the vice president to adjust his glasses while analyzing Leon's insane speed. Watching from high above, Luna happily notes that her master didn't even use dark magic, eagerly waiting for the entire academy to finally witness his true terrifying power. Sure enough, Leon easily sweeps through the next rounds, blasting opponents left and right, leaving a trail of defeated bullies in his wake as his name echoes repeatedly, walking away completely unfazed as he effortlessly climbs up the tournament bracket. Meanwhile, the corrupt headmaster stares at the match results in absolute disbelief and fury, desperately trying to convince himself that this talentless kid couldn't have closed the gate, before a sudden knock at his office door prompts him to coldly order them in. Stepping inside, the vice president politely asks why he was summoned so suddenly, knowing his highly anticipated match against the rising underdog is coming up next. This headmaster sternly commands him to fight at full strength to ensure absolute victory, prompting the smug vice president to declare that he won't show any mercy. Analyzing all of Ren's recent mock battles, the vice president notes he only used basic earth magic, confidently assuring the corrupt headmaster that the rising underdog is still absolutely no match for him, which brings a highly satisfied, malicious grin to the old man's face as he stops worrying. Stepping out of the private office, the smug glasses wearer closes the heavy wooden door behind him, quietly wondering why the headmaster is acting so incredibly cautious about a total loser. though he remains absolutely certain that there is no way he could ever lose this fight. Meanwhile, the arena speakers loudly announce another flawless victory for our boy under the bright blue sky, leaving the stunned crowd whispering in absolute disbelief at his impossible month-long winning streak. Feeling pretty good about his steady progress, Leon grabs a refreshing bottle of water to cool down, handed over by a smiling Makoto who has been genuinely cheering him on from the sidelines. She reminds him that he only needs one more win to completely cancel his unfair expulsion, unaware that their arrogant next opponent is quietly watching them from the shadows with pure disdain. As the sunset paints the sky orange, the final highly anticipated match of the day is called, prompting Shuya to immediately warn our hero not to get cocky over a few easy wins. But Leon casually brushes it off, explaining that he is simply here to get the job done. When the vice president mockingly asks if he actually expects to win, our boy confidently agrees, sending a wave of sheer irritation through the smug four eyes as he adjusts his glasses. Unleashing a heavy, menacing aura, Shuya vows to make this arrogant upstart deeply regret his bold words. While Makoto, Luna, and the corrupt headmaster watch intently from the stands with very different expectations, Leon stands completely ready as his magical eyes glow, waiting for the signal to start the clash. Standing opposite each other in the sunset-drenched arena, the two opponents prepare for their final showdown. Shuya charges up his magic while quietly questioning how a low-ranked loser could suddenly awaken such power, suspecting that Leon deliberately hid his true strength just to show off with consecutive wins. Determined to expose what he believes is a fraud, the smug vice president readies his opening move, manifesting a high-rank wind attribute spell that forms a brilliant crackling lightning bow. Drawing the glowing string back, he fires a devastating projectile directly at our unbothered hero, sending a massive wave of destructive energy tearing across the battlefield with terrifying speed. Reacting instantly, Leon drops low and slams his hand against the stone floor to activate his defense, summoning a massive clay wall that rises from the ground to shield him from the incoming blast. This lightning arrow collides violently with the earthen barrier, exploding in a shower of sparks, leaving Shuya completely stunned that his high-rank offensive magic was so easily neutralized by basic defense. Whispers of absolute disbelief ripple through the crowd as the spectators realize the underdog actually blocked it, forcing the vice president to quickly compose himself and remember that his opponent only uses earth magic. Deciding to overwhelm him with sheer numbers, the arrogant student council member raises his hand, conjuring dozens of massive boulders that hover menacingly in the air directly above the arena before clenching his fist to rain down a relentless barrage of heavy stone projectiles. This devastating rock shower pours down from the sky, aiming to crush our hero into the dirt. But Leon simply looks up with glowing eyes, calmly swirling a green vortex of wind in his palm, unleashing a massive aerial blast that spirals upward to completely obliterate the falling boulders, shattering his confidence as the broken remnants of his attack rain harmlessly around them. Staring in absolute shock, the glasses-wearing vice president cannot comprehend how a loser mastered wind magic, while the crowd erupts into wild cheers as they witness another impossible counterattack. Shocked spectators whisper among themselves, completely baffled by Leon's sudden display of multiple elemental attributes, prompting Makoto to silently note how incredibly rare it is for anyone to wield dual elements, since mastering even a single magical attribute normally requires a lifetime of intense dedication. Clenching her hands in her lap, she realizes his level of proficiency makes absolutely no sense, gazing up at her mysterious classmate with a mixture of profound awe and confusion. Meanwhile, Shuya grinds his teeth in frustration, refusing to accept that his opponent can use wind magic. But our hero calmly retorts, asking if the elite student is simply looking down on everyone else. This casual remark instantly strikes a nerve, sending a wave of pure fury through the arrogant vice president. Unfazed, Leon continues his lecture, calling out his opponent's arrogance, carelessness, and terrible attitude, which only serves to make the glasses wearer's blood boil even further under the orange sunset. Squeezing his fist, the furious student council member warns our boy not to get ahead of himself, declaring that the corrupt headmaster is the only person in this academy worthy of his respect. As blue energy crackles around his hand, he vows to reach the absolute peak of magic, glaring with intense hatred to make sure Leon knows they are not on the same level. Suddenly, a massive torrent of high-rank water magic erupts around him, lighting up the entire arena, leaving the spectators gasping in awe at the sheer destructive scale of his signature elemental spell. Unleashing his ultimate attack, the vice president confidently declares that this is the end of the match. Yet Leon stands completely still as the freezing water surges around his feet without causing any damage. Shuya unleashes his ultimate freezing spell, summoning a massive column of swirling blue water, believing that neither wind nor earth magic can possibly block this absolute zero temperature. This arrogant vice president smiles as a giant pillar of solid ice traps our hero inside. Suddenly, a brilliant burst of intense orange flames begins to crackle from within the frozen prison, leaving the smug glasses wearer sweating in sheer disbelief as his ultimate move starts to fail. With a deafening crash, the massive ice structure shatters under the pressure of intense heat, revealing Leon standing completely unharmed amidst a swirling vortex of high-rank fire magic. Staring at the flames, Shuya realizes with absolute horror that his opponent wields 3 distinct elements, but our unbothered hero casually notes that he is not limited to just 3 attributes. Before the elite student can even process this claim, a massive frozen glacier manifests high above, prompting Leon to clench his fist and command the sky to rain down absolute ruin. Dozens of razor-sharp ice spears instantly condense and shoot downward with terrifying velocity, completely engulfing the entire battlefield in a relentless barrage of freezing projectiles. Shielding his face, the panicked vice president screams in shock at this fourth elemental attribute, desperately trying to defend himself as the freezing storm completely overwhelms his magical defenses. His glasses crack under the immense pressure of the onslaught as his arrogance is utterly shattered, sending him crashing hard onto the arena floor as the icy winds finally subside. Battered and defeated, the elite student drops to his knees under the orange sunset sky, while our victorious hero calmly steps forward to offer him a final word of advice. Leon tells him that to reach the peak, he must stop looking down on others and focus on his goals. As a bittersweet memory of his past flashes through his mind, Leon remembers the harsh reality of his limits, leaving the utterly broken vice president staring up at him in absolute, trembling disbelief, before the arrogant elite finally collapses onto the shattered arena floor without another word. Walking away with total indifference, our boy quietly reminds himself that his true mission has only just begun, while the referee loudly announces his official victory to a completely stunned and silent crowd. Later that night, the quiet academy stands under the cold glow of a crescent moon. But inside the headmaster's office, a furious fist slams down on the desk in pure outrage, as the corrupt old man desperately tries to deny that a supposed loser wields 4 elements. Meanwhile, the student council president firmly defends Leon, reminding everyone that he single-handedly closed the red gate, which only fuels the headmaster's burning hatred as he refuses to accept this humiliating reality. Standing up in a fit of rage, the old villain pushes his chair back, immediately grabbing his phone to dial a secret contact while cursing our hero's name, swearing to have Leon expelled at any cost while burning his student profile to ashes. Back in his dorm room, our boy sits deep in thought while his cute summon sleeps peacefully, reflecting on how defeating the vice president successfully forced the academy to cancel his unfair expulsion. Staring at his notebook, he maps out the suspicious connections between the headmaster and the Demon King, wishing he could interrogate Shido directly, though the corrupt old man is conveniently out on business. Deciding on his next move, Leon circles the mysterious gates as his absolute top priority, realizing that blocking these dimensional rifts will easily bait the Demon King's hidden allies into the open, leaving him looking out into the night sky, eagerly wondering which foolish target will bite his hook first. Sitting quietly in his classroom, Leon looks up as the door suddenly slides open, revealing a new instructor who confidently strides inside with a pleasant smile on his face, which instantly catches our hero's attention as his magical eyes narrow in deep suspicion. Writing his name on the blackboard, the new teacher introduces himself as Hashiba Kaisuke, politely asking the class to treat him well with an incredibly warm and friendly demeanor, while the female students immediately swoon over how handsome and nice their new teacher seems. Leon remains completely silent, sensing that there is definitely more to this man than meet the eye. Later during lunch, the bustling cafeteria is filled with students gossiping about the recent mock battle, completely amazed by how easily the supposed underdog managed to overwhelm the academy's second-ranked elite, prompting some to jokingly suggest that they should ask the legendary transfer student for magic lessons. Minding his own business, Leon looks up when a familiar voice suddenly interrupts his quiet meal, as the beautiful student council president holds a lunch tray and asks to sit opposite him. Setting her food down, she warmly compliments his incredible performance during yesterday's intense duel, calling it a truly spectacular fight while Leon politely thanks her for the unexpected praise. She then expresses her sincere gratitude for how he handled their defeated opponent, Narus, explaining that Leon's harsh but honest words actually managed to get through to the arrogant elite, though she quickly adds that she still cannot forgive the headmaster's incredibly unreasonable behavior. This president reveals the corrupt old man was a former seeker with rumors of shady connections, leaving our hero to quietly ponder what kind of dangerous allies the headmaster might be hiding. Suddenly, the cafeteria's broadcast screen flashes to life, interrupting their conversation with an urgent announcement. This news broadcast warns that dimensional gates have been appearing with much higher frequency lately, urging citizens without magic to stay far away from these highly dangerous zones, which reminds our hero of his cute summon's warning about the impending doom of their world, knowing that letting these vicious monsters run wild would completely destroy everything he holds dear. Refusing to let the Demon King's forces win, Leon resolves to take matters into his own hands. But first, he quietly asks the student council president to investigate a highly suspicious matter. Under the cover of darkness, our boy slips out of the academy to begin his nightly patrol, accompanied by his loyal little summon who is always eager to help him hunt down threats, as she happily gushes over how incredibly cool it is that he protects the city in secret. Suddenly, they stumble upon a glowing green gate that has just manifested in an alleyway, prompting Leon to immediately step through the dimensional rift without a single shred of hesitation, arriving on the other side only to find themselves in a completely different environment. Looking around, they realize they have been transported into a dark and ominous sea of trees, where the bodies of defeated monsters already litter the ground from some previous conflict, leading them straight into the deepest part of the forest to search for the boss. Though Luna is quite confused when she notices the clearing is completely empty, instantly, Leon's eyes widen in sheer panic as he senses a massive spike of hostile energy, screaming a desperate warning to his companion just as a massive shadow looms behind her. But it is already too late as a giant clawed hand snatches her up into the air, leaving our shocked hero staring up helplessly as his precious summon is taken hostage by an unseen foe. A hideous gargoyle monster wraps its massive claws around Luna, threatening to swallow her whole, prompting the terrified little summon to let out a deafening scream of pure panic. As she desperately kicks her legs and reminds the beast she is definitely not on the menu. Watching from below, our hero keeps his cool and commands his companion to stay completely still. Dark energy instantly crackles around Leon's hand as he prepares to unleash a brand new elemental attribute, sending a barrage of lethal purple projectiles tearing straight through the dense forest canopy, which homes in on the flying beast with absolute precision to force it to drop its hostage, shredding the monster's defenses in a blinding flash of dark magical energy. This impact completely blows the creature apart, sending Luna falling safely back down to earth. Meanwhile, the defeated gargoyle crashes heavily onto the forest floor, utterly destroyed by the single strike, allowing Leon to catch his adorable companion mid-air and gently reassure her that she is safe. Still shaking off the shock, she eagerly praises his insanely fast reaction time during the ambush. But our boy casually explains that surviving the depths of hell made dodging surprise attacks second nature, leaving the cute summon looking up at him with even more admiration than before. Stepping back through the glowing green gate, they celebrate successfully closing the rift without any civilian casualties. Though their brief moment of peace is suddenly cut short as Leon senses another threat, when a rain of sharp golden crystal spears suddenly rains down from the night sky, forcing our hero to swiftly leap backward as the deadly projectiles obliterate the pavement beneath him. Glaring through the dust, his eyes narrow with intense focus as he locates the hidden attacker, spotting a mysterious silhouette standing high atop a nearby building, waiting for their final showdown. Crouching in the shadows, the masked assassin is genuinely impressed that his target detected his presence, narrowing his eyes as he eagerly anticipates a highly entertaining hunt tonight. Sensing the danger, Leon immediately orders Luna to find a safe place to hide, before demanding to know the identity of this mysterious rooftop attacker and his motives. Refusing to answer, the hooded assassin merely scoffs as intense flames begin to coat his body, unleashing a massive wave of fire magic to incinerate our hero right on the spot. Swiftly leaping backward, Leon effortlessly dodges the blazing pillars erupting from the concrete pavement. But the attacker quickly follows up, determined to keep the pressure on his target, raining down a relentless barrage of massive fireballs to completely engulf the entire street. Watching the incoming flames, our unbothered hero calmly prepares to reveal yet another secret attribute, quietly chanting the activation phrase for his highly destructive and rare dark magic. Instantly, a massive void called Grim Eater manifests to swallow the blazing inferno whole, leaving the assassin completely dumbfounded as his ultimate fire spell is utterly erased. Shaking with disbelief, the hooded hunter desperately tries to comprehend what kind of magic he just witnessed, while Leon glares back with glowing purple eyes, refusing to let his assailant escape, summoning a massive razor-sharp dark claw that tears through the night sky with terrifying speed. This devastating spell completely shatters the assassin's defenses in a violent burst of purple energy, resulting in a painful wound as he barely manages to survive the overwhelming counterattack. Realizing he is completely outmatched, the panicked hunter decides to prioritize his survival and escape, throwing down a smoke bomb to vanish into the night before our hero can finish him off. Looking up at the empty rooftop, our boy realizes the slippery assassin has already vanished into thin air, which prompts his cute little summon to pop out and check if he is doing all right, leaving the duo standing in silence on the deserted street as they process the sudden ambush. Back in the safety of his dorm room, Luna wonders who could have targeted them so aggressively, but Leon calmly explains that they at least confirmed their mysterious enemy is actively making moves, suspecting that this masked attacker might actually have some shady connections inside the academy itself. Staring out his window, our hero vows to drag every single secret out of the assassin next time. This next morning, Leon sits quietly in class while keeping his guard up against any potential threats, keeping a very close eye on the suspicious new instructor writing on the chalkboard. Walking down the hallway after class, our boy turns around when a familiar voice calls his name, revealing the friendly new teacher who claims to have heard all about his solo gate clearing achievement, mentioning how the stubborn headmaster completely refuses to believe such an incredible feat actually happened. However, Kaisuke warmly reassures Leon that he fully believes in his power after witnessing the mock battle, offering a pleasant, squinty-eyed smile that seems almost too perfect to be genuine. Patting our hero on the shoulder, the polite instructor wishes him luck before Leon quietly thanks him. But as soon as Leon walks away, Kaisuke's eyes glow with a sinister, malicious pink light. Later that night, the masked assassin watches from a high vantage point as Leon enters another green gate, clutching his chest while swearing to get absolute revenge for the painful wound he received yesterday, promising himself that he will not make the same foolish mistake of letting his guard down again, especially now that he has a secret communication device ready to call in some serious backup. Stepping out of the glowing green gate, Leon calmly returns to the quiet city streets, while the masked assassin watches in absolute shock at how fast the gate was cleared. Shaking off his surprise, the hunter pulls out a detonator and orders his hidden backup to strike, triggering a massive fiery explosion that completely engulfs our hero in a blinding flash of light. Believing his trap worked perfectly, the hooded killer watches the flames with a smug grin, as the devastating blast tears through the concrete and lights up the dark night sky, letting out a mocking laugh at how incredibly easy it was to finish the job. Speaking into his radio, he commands his subordinates to go down and verify the kill, but a sudden scream of pure agony from the other end completely cuts him off. Whipping his head around, the panicked assassin desperately scans the shadows for any sign of movement, trying to comprehend how anyone could have possibly survived that level of destructive firepower. Reassuring himself, he assumes his high vantage point keeps him completely safe from detection, only to freeze in sheer terror when Leon suddenly materializes right behind him. Our boy casually explains that his adorable little summon was busy scouting out the surrounding rooftops, before unleashing a swift windblade that slices through the air with deadly precision. This powerful attack completely shatters the assassin's mask, exposing his true face to the moonlight, revealing none other than their supposedly friendly new classroom instructor, Hashiba Kiski. Leon points out that Hashiba foolishly used a different arm to write on the blackboard today, deducing that the injury he sustained during their previous rooftop clash was the obvious cause, and a quick background check by the student council president confirmed his past as a rogue seeker. Leon reveals he also knows the homing magic attack was Kisuke's personal specialty, standing tall as he calls out the rogue instructor by his real name, asking the cornered assassin if he has finally found his resolve to speak, leaving Kaisuke staring up in absolute disbelief at the student who outsmarted him. Our hero demands to know the exact reason behind this relentless, unprovoked assault, but the exposed traitor merely smirks as a dark chuckle escapes his lips, bursting into a maniacal fit of laughter while mockingly praising Leon's impressive detective work. Suddenly, Kisuke's expression turns deadly serious as his eyes narrow with pure malice, warning the young student not to get cocky before unleashing a massive wave of fire, sending a devastating rain of blazing meteors crashing down to obliterate the entire area. Watching the destruction, the arrogant hunter boasts that his target has absolutely nowhere left to run, proudly claiming he has slaughtered over 1,000 high-level monsters using this exact spell, commanding Leon to burn to ashes and disappear without leaving a single trace behind. Unbothered by the intense heat, our overpowered hero stands completely calm amidst the raging inferno, casually muttering that he actually knows this specific fire magic better than anyone else, raising his hand to manifest a blazing flame of his own to counter the attack. This sight sends Kaisuke into a state of pure panic as he stutters in disbelief, while Leon effortlessly channels his own high-tier fire attribute magic to end this fight, unleashing a colossal Crimson Blaze spell that completely dwarfs the rogue instructor's puny flames, engulfing the entire battlefield in a blinding explosion of absolute, overwhelming magical power. This colossal explosion completely clears the field, leaving the rogue instructor struggling to comprehend the blast, as Kaisuke desperately shields himself from the heat while realizing he just witnessed high-tier fire magic. But our boy casually smiles and corrects him, explaining that was actually just intermediate-ranked magic, sending the traitor into a state of absolute shock as cold sweat runs down his face, prompting Kaisuke to scream in pure denial, refusing to believe such a ridiculous power difference exists. Walking forward with dark energy crackling in his hand, Leon brings up the instructor's earlier boast, coldly revealing that he has personally slain over 100,000 monsters during his time in hell. Before the traitor can even react, our hero lunges forward and grabs him by the throat, lifting him high into the air as terrifying purple flames wrap around his helpless body, leaving Kaisuke utterly paralyzed as he feels his very life force being rapidly drained away. Letting out a painful scream, the rogue instructor desperately thrashes against the overwhelming dark magic, but his body completely freezes up, leaving him entirely at our overpowered hero's mercy. While his cute summon celebrates their victory, Leon notes there is still one crucial task left, pinning the defeated assassin to the ground to begin a very intense interrogation session. Glaring down with glowing eyes, he demands to know if the Academy's headmaster Shido ordered the hit, taking the traitor's sudden, terrified silence as a loud and clear confirmation. Shaking with fear, Kisuke squeals that he was ordered to eliminate anyone trying to close the rifts, which helps our smart hero instantly connect the dots behind this massive conspiracy, realizing Shido is working with the demon Belfar, even if his school's true purpose remains a mystery. But either way, Leon knows the shady headmaster is the ultimate key to solving everything. Kisuke panics, realizing the corrupt headmaster will simply play dumb and abandon him if he gets caught, leaving the defeated rogue instructor tied up in a dark room to rot in silence. Standing in the pouring rain, Leon realizes this setback will force Shido to make a desperate move, which is exactly what our hero wants as he prepares to take down the mastermind, walking away into the night while swearing to expose the entire conspiracy once and for all. Meanwhile, a sleek black car pulls up to a massive estate under the cover of darkness, as lightning flashes across the stormy sky to illuminate the headmaster's grand, ominous mansion. Knocking on the heavy front doors, a nervous associate announces his arrival to the guards inside, walking down the long, silent hallways while feeling an incredibly heavy and suffocating pressure in the air. Sweating profusely, the messenger admits to himself that he can never truly get used to this place, before finally reaching the private study and knocking gently until a cold voice commands him to enter. Stepping inside, the anxious subordinate bows deeply to show his absolute respect to the powerful man in the chair, who casually swirls a glass of red wine while demanding to hear the latest report. This messenger quickly explains the current situation, standing at attention while Shido listens quietly by the fireplace. prompting the headmaster to ask if there have been any other unusual changes in the academy lately, swirling his wine as he waits to see if anything else is threatening his grand plans. Remembering a certain anomaly, the associate mentions a student who suddenly started showing impossible godlike results, explaining that this mysterious kid can somehow wield 4 different magical attributes with absolute mastery, which immediately catches Shido's attention, causing a dark, intrigued smirk to creep onto his face. However, the arrogant headmaster confidently reassures him that he already sent an assassin to eliminate the threat. Turning around with sudden interest, the headmaster demands to hear more about this overpowered student, standing tall against the lightning-lit window as he finds the situation highly amusing, while his subordinate explains how a supposedly weak loser suddenly displayed godlike magical talent. Sweating nervously, the messenger warns that this unpredictable anomaly could completely ruin their grand plans, though he quickly reassures his boss that the assassin should have eliminated the kid by now. Shido casts a chilling, shadowy glare backward, completely unconvinced by his subordinate's blind optimism, pointing out the glaringly obvious fact that their hired killer has not reported back yet. Realizing something is terribly wrong, the panicked associate immediately pulls out his phone to check. Meanwhile, the defeated rogue instructor sits tied up and helpless in a dark room, his vibrating phone lighting up the shadows with an unanswered call from his corrupt boss. This messenger's face pales as the call rings out, realizing Leon might have actually won, forcing Shido to calmly state the obvious truth that their assassination attempt was a total failure. Gritting his teeth in pure frustration, the subordinate wonders how they can possibly handle this monster now. But the sinister headmaster merely smiles, suggesting they still have one highly effective option left. Approaching a small, ornate chest on his desk, Shido prepares to escalate their twisted game, opening the box while casually proposing they use the academy's innocent students as bait. This cruel idea instantly brings a wicked, eager grin back to the loyal associate's face, catching a mysterious object that the headmaster casually tosses over to him across the room. Looking down, he admires a glowing black ring meant to kickstart the next phase of their experiment, letting out a dark, confident smirk as they prepare to unleash absolute chaos upon the academy. This loyal associate confidently accepts the glowing ring, promising to handle the next phase of their plan, while the corrupt headmaster relaxes in his study, swirling his wine as the fireplace crackles nearby, anticipating the absolute chaos that is about to unfold across the academy very soon. Suddenly, a dark voice speaks from the roaring flames, noting Shido's unusually cheerful mood, prompting the sinister headmaster to smirk as he prepares to finally unleash the mysterious black gate. Chuckling darkly in the quiet room, completely confident that his grand scheme is flawless. This very next day, Shido calls Leon into his office to offer a surprisingly humble apology, claiming he made a massive mistake regarding the young student's true magical capabilities, explaining that exceptionally talented individuals deserve to be placed in high positions, and pointing out that the sudden surge in active rifts requires immediate, powerful intervention, assigning Leon to work directly alongside the student council president to clear these dangerous gates, which our hero instantly realizes is just a convenient excuse to send him on patrol. But he calmly accepts the dangerous mission anyway, prompting Shido to offer a friendly handshake. Grasping the headmaster's hand, Leon plays along with the obvious trap while keeping his guard up, knowing full well that this corrupt old man is desperately plotting his ultimate demise. Though our overpowered hero has a brilliant counter-strategy of his own ready to go, secretly channeling a trace of dark tracking magic directly into Shido's palm during their handshake. Meeting up with President Izumiya on the school rooftop, Leon casually warns her about the trap, revealing that her investigation successfully confirmed Shido was the mastermind behind the previous assassin's attack, leaving our boy fully prepared to strike back before the corrupt headmaster even realizes what hit him. Izumiya points out that Leon should have just rejected the headmaster's suspicious patrol request, but our boy casually reveals that he actually has a secret plan of his own, explaining that this strategy only involves himself, meaning he intends to handle the patrol completely alone. However, the stubborn student council president immediately cuts him off, insisting on tagging along anyway. She firmly declares that she refuses to stand by and watch while the academy faces such danger, prompting Leon's cute summon to note her resolve, leaving our hero with no choice but to agree. As the sun begins to set, the duo officially begins their patrol through the quiet streets, though Leon notes that he cannot sense the presence of any active gates nearby just yet. Breaking the silence, he turns to Izumiya and asks if she is genuinely afraid of the monsters, and she honestly admits that claiming to be completely fearless would be a total lie. Nevertheless, she is fully prepared to risk her life to protect the world from these threats, causing our hero's eyes to widen slightly, as her words trigger a sudden familiar memory. This president explains that this noble resolve is the exact reason she chose to become a wizard, which perfectly mirrors the exact speech Leon gave before embarking on his quest to defeat the Demon King. Staring at her in silence, our overpowered protagonist is deeply struck by her pure, unwavering determination, while she softly adds that standing by his side gives her the ultimate strength to fight. Suddenly, their touching moment is violently shattered when a massive, ominous red gate erupts directly beneath them, sending a jolt of pure shock through Leon as a terrifying vortex of dark energy manifests, catching the helpless president completely off guard as the violent magical currents pull her in, wrapping around her body in a split second to drag her straight into the abyss. Izumiya is violently pulled into the swirling vortex, helpless against the overwhelming dark energy. Leon reaches out in desperation, screaming her name as the portal begins to close, but she is completely swallowed by the terrifying red abyss in a split second. Realizing this is actually a legendary black gate, our hero instantly senses its suffocating pressure. Clenching his fist in pure anger, he swears to dive in and save her. While back at the estate, the corrupt headmaster watches everything unfold on his security monitors. Shido lets out a sinister chuckle, his glowing rings shining in the dim control room, observing our isolated hero through the cameras as his trap successfully springs shut, confidently declaring that the perfect bait has finally been set to eliminate his target. Swirling his wine by the fireplace, the mastermind boasts that everything is proceeding exactly as planned, explaining that the gate's terrifying boss specifically targets hunters with massive amounts of mana. Back at the scene, Leon stands before the swirling vortex of pure dark energy, prompting his cute summon to suddenly pop out and beg him to wait, warning him that this gate is far more dangerous than any standard category red. Our smart protagonist immediately connects the dots, realizing the timing is just too convenient, deducing that Shido deliberately conjured this portal to trap them both inside forever. But despite the obvious danger, he refuses to abandon the student council president. Suddenly, Luna gasps in pure terror and points directly at the glowing rift, as a swarm of vicious flying monsters begins pouring out into the real world, forcing our overpowered hero to prepare for a massive fight before entering the gate. Just as the flying monsters swarm, a familiar student council member arrives to blast them with lightning magic, wielding a glowing, crackling blade while stepping up to defend the academy in this crisis, demanding that Leon quickly fill him in on what exactly happened to the president. Hearing that Izumiya was dragged straight into the portal sends a wave of pure shock through him, especially since more terrifying red dragons are still pouring out of the massive rift, prompting the brave vice president to insist on holding the line completely by himself. Grateful for the backup, Leon offers a quick apology and a sincere thank you, before immediately turning around and sprinting directly toward the swirling red vortex. Watching our hero run, the vice president admits he is simply not strong enough for this rescue, silently placing all his trust in Leon to bring their president back safely. Turning back to the swarming beasts, he charges up his lightning magic with absolute resolve, unleashing a barrage of electric arrows to keep the flying monsters busy. Meanwhile, Leon and Luna successfully cross over into the dark, desolate wasteland inside the gate, urging his cute summon to keep up as they search for any sign of Izumiya. But their search is instantly interrupted when a massive red dragon swoops down from the sky. Our boy calmly notes that even the standard mobs here are boss-level threats in normal dungeons, though a minor detail like that is not going to stop him from using dark magic, summoning his legendary Calamity Scythe as a terrifying purple aura erupts around him. Staring down the lunging beast with absolute coldness, he simply tells the monster to move, before unleashing a devastating purple slash that completely tears the dragon apart in one clean strike. This massive dragon's claw is cleanly severed as Leon's devastating strike connects, leaving the beast completely defeated while our hero stands tall with his glowing purple scythe. But a whole swarm of red dragons suddenly descends, blocking his path forward, prompting Leon to glare back with icy determination, warning them to get out of his way. Meanwhile, the corrupt headmaster watches the live feed, unfazed that Leon bypassed the initial trap, smirking maliciously as he assumes the foolish boy is simply rushing to his own doom. Deep inside the gate, Leon and Luna descend a massive stone staircase toward the abyss, where his cute summon asks if he is holding up all right under the intense pressure, though our overpowered protagonist just smiles, having survived far worse in the depths of hell, reassuring Luna that their only priority right now is finding and rescuing the president. Nodding in agreement, the duo continues their descent deeper into the dark, ominous dungeon. Elsewhere in the abyss, President Izumiya slowly regains consciousness only to find herself completely trapped, wrapped tightly in glowing, slimy tentacles that restrict her movements and leave her helpless, gasping in pure horror as she looks up at the colossal, single-eyed monster holding her captive. She desperately struggles against her bonds, but the tight grip refuses to budge even a fraction, realizing with growing dread that her magical energy is actively being drained away, worrying that if this terrifying beast ever escapes, the outside world will face absolute devastation. Despite her own dire situation, she wonders if Leon managed to escape the gate safely, smiling softly as she realizes her powerful classmate would never run from a fight, finding the resolve to summon a spark of fire magic to fight back with everything she has. Trying to summon a spark of fire magic, the helpless president desperately reaches out, but she gasps in shock as her mana completely fails to activate, realizing with absolute dread that this giant beast is actively draining her energy. As the terrifying creature looms closer with its massive tooth-filled maw ready to strike, she prepares for the worst, only for a familiar voice to suddenly echo and a devastating purple slash slices clean through the slimy tentacle holding her captive. With a massive burst of dark energy, our overpowered hero finally makes his grand entrance, unleashing another powerful strike that completely shatters the monster's grip on the president, leaving her falling safely as Leon casually apologizes for keeping her waiting. Looking up at her savior, she can't help but smile with pure relief, knowing deep down that he would always show up to save the day. Meanwhile, back in the real world, a corrupt associate smirks into his phone, confidently reporting that their trap succeeded and Leon's demise is now completely guaranteed, intending to let both students become nothing more than sustenance for this ancient beast. Back inside the gate, the weakened president softly thanks our hero for coming, while Luna quickly warns him that the monster is still actively draining her mana, prompting Leon to analyze this bizarre creature, which he has never seen before, but refusing to let himself falter as he charges up his dark magic, before unleashing a massive, concentrated beam of purple energy directly at the beast, tearing up the desolate ground as he prepares to end this fight once and for all. Leon watches in shock as one of the monster's massive tentacles whips past him, smashing into the ground with enough raw force to completely shatter the rocky terrain. Realizing he needs to bypass these limbs and strike the core with dark magic, targeting the colossal glowing red eye that serves as the beast's main body, unleashing a devastating purple slash that tears through the air with incredible speed. While Luna celebrates the massive hit, our hero quickly realizes something is terribly wrong, staring in disbelief as the giant eye remains completely unscathed by his attack, prompting the furious beast to let out a deafening roar and strike back, forcing Leon to quickly retreat up a steep rocky slope to avoid the onslaught. But as he tries to find his footing, the ground begins to tremble violently. Suddenly, Luna screams a warning as a toothy worm-like tentacle lunges from his blind spot, whipping forward with blinding speed to obliterate the very ground he was standing on, leaving our overpowered protagonist with a fresh cut on his cheek from the graze. Though he quickly reassures the worried president that he managed to dodge the brunt of it. Wiping the blood away, he admits that fighting an unfamiliar monster makes predicting its movements difficult, especially since another massive limb is already crashing down to crush him into dust. Gritting his teeth in annoyance, our boy refuses to let this giant pest overwhelm him, swinging his legendary scythe to unleash a massive arc of purple energy that slices the air, only for a multi-headed horror to immediately rise from the shadows to block his path, forcing Leon to leap high into the air to deliver another devastating, clean slash. Luna watches in deep concern, realizing our exhausted hero has been fighting non-stop without a single break, while the captured president remains trapped in that draining sphere with her time rapidly running out, knowing that any direct attempt to reach the boss will make him an easy target for those limbs. But our confident protagonist simply smirks, completely unfazed by the massive danger ahead. Unleashing a swift purple slash, he easily deflects an incoming strike with absolute precision, calmly promising to land a decisive blow on his very next attempt as his dark aura flares, before immediately launching himself forward like a rocket, surrounded by crackling purple energy. Watching from her prison, the president gasps in awe as she realizes he is actually closing the distance, even as the colossal beast unleashes its entire arsenal of toothy tentacles to block his path, prompting our overpowered hero to channel his dark attribute magic directly into his hand, releasing a devastating spell called Grim Eater that violently shreds through the incoming limbs. Using the severed pieces as stepping stones, Leon sprints directly up a massive tentacle, forcing the giant eye monster to shriek in pure agony as its defenses are completely bypassed. Though our boy has no intention of letting up, immediately preparing his next high-tier spell, summoning a cluster of highly concentrated dark magic spheres that hover menacingly around him, before unleashing a barrage of blinding purple light beams that pierce the beast from above. Landing gracefully on one of the giant writhing limbs, he maintains his perfect balance, standing directly in front of the massive glowing eye as his shadow looms over the boss, coldly declaring that this is the absolute end for the ancient dungeon monster. As he charges up his ultimate dark magic spell to erase the beast from existence, Leon unleashes his ultimate dark magic spell, sending a massive purple slash directly at the giant eye, and the colossal beast shrieks in absolute agony as the devastating strike hits its mark, completely vaporizing its remaining defensive limbs into nothing but burning purple ash. This final blow completely shatters the slimy bonds that were holding the president captive, sending her falling safely through the air as the dark prison dissolves. Swooping in just in time, our overpowered hero catches her gently in his arms, checking to see if she is all right after enduring such an intense mana drain, which prompts the relieved president to smile softly and express her deep gratitude, happy that her powerful classmate actually came all this way to rescue her. Meanwhile, back in the control room, the corrupt headmaster watches the monitors in absolute horror, sweating profusely as the system alerts him that the Black Gate is rapidly disappearing, unable to comprehend how a mere student could have defeated the dungeon's massive overseer. Refusing to accept defeat, the desperate villain reaches inside his suit jacket for a backup plan, pulling out a mysterious glowing ring that holds an immense amount of dark power. Slipping the magical artifact onto his finger to prepare for a direct confrontation, he smirks maliciously, believing he can still win until a cold voice suddenly interrupts him, causing the corrupt headmaster to gasp in pure shock as his blood runs cold, while a massive surge of dark attribute magic begins to manifest directly behind him, revealing that Leon used shadow conversion to teleport straight into the room to end this. Our hero looms over the terrified villain, leaving the headmaster screaming in absolute disbelief. Leon glares with absolute fury, declaring that irredeemable scum like the headmaster can never be forgiven, leaving the corrupt villain shaking in his boots as he demands to know how Leon bypassed security. Our hero calmly explains that he left a magical mark on his target to enable instant teleportation, prompting the stunned headmaster to desperately try and piece together when he was actually tagged. Suddenly remembering a strange shadow that brushed past him earlier while reaching inside his jacket, though he still cannot comprehend how such high-level spatial magic is even possible for a student. Slicing through his panic, Leon coldly states that it is now his turn to ask questions, demanding to know if the headmaster was the mastermind behind summoning that ancient dungeon monster, pointing directly at the massive control terminal behind the villain to prove he has no escape, asking why someone would build an entire wizard academy just to pull off a stunt like this. Instead of denying the accusation, the corrupt headmaster simply lets out a dark, mocking chuckle, casually revealing that the entire academy was built for the sole purpose of cultivating food, explaining that the students were raised as sacrifices to feed the colossal beast inside the gate, proudly admitting that he materialized the Black Gate himself to throw the entire world into chaos, planning to use the resulting panic to seize absolute power and authority over the Magic Association. Hearing this horrific confession, Leon merely lowers his head and mutters a quiet acknowledgement, realizing that the president was deliberately thrown to the monster just to satisfy this madman's greed, looking up with dead glowing eyes as he labels the headmaster an absolute piece of scum. But the unbothered villain merely smirks, completely indifferent to the moral judgment of a mere teenager, summoning a massive torrent of fire magic as he prepares to silence our hero once and for all. Screaming in absolute rage, the corrupt headmaster unleashes a massive torrent of fire magic directly at our hero, sending giant pillars of roaring flames surging forward to incinerate everything in their path. But Leon merely stands his ground, completely unfazed as crackling purple energy begins to shield him, leaving the villain utterly speechless as his devastating fire attack completely dissolves upon contact with the barrier. Sweating profusely, the corrupt headmaster stammers in disbelief, unable to comprehend what just happened, staring in absolute horror as his high-level magic vanishes into thin air without leaving a single scratch, desperately trying to convince himself that this must be some kind of cheap trick, only for Lisan to coldly tell him to actually try harder next time, fueling his rage. Gritting his teeth, the villain notices our hero's scuffed clothes and assumes he is already exhausted, confidently declaring that his next spell will erase every single trace of Leon from existence, channeling an even more massive inferno that swirls violently around the room with terrifying heat. Roaring for our hero to die, the crazed headmaster prepares to unleash his ultimate attack, launching a barrage of colossal fireballs that rain down like meteors to crush his opponent. However, our overpowered protagonist simply raises his hands to prepare a high-tier counterspell, prompting the villain to gasp in sudden panic as he senses an overwhelming dark aura, as Leon channels his dark attribute magic to summon a powerful defensive spell, activating his denial mirror to instantly reflect the massive fireballs right back at their creator, trapping the terrified headmaster within his own devastating attack with absolutely no escape, howling in pure agony as the fiery explosion engulfs him in a massive burst of flames. When the smoke finally clears, the corrupt villain lies defeated and smoking on the shattered ground. Coughing up smoke, the corrupt headmaster struggles to push himself off the shattered floor, gritting his teeth in absolute denial as he mutters that this outcome should be impossible, staring up at the terrifying student he once dismissed as nothing more than a useless weakling, while Leon's cold, glowing eyes lock onto him with an overwhelming pressure that suffocates the room. Desperate to turn the tables, the villain slams his fist onto the control console, reaching out to activate his backup plan and summon another gate to save his skin. But a sudden beam of purple magic pierces clean through his hand to stop him, leaving the headmaster howling in pain as our hero calmly observes his pathetic struggle. Leon casually deduces that those glowing rings are the key to materializing the gates, prompting the terrified headmaster to sweat profusely and desperately beg for mercy, only for our protagonist to immediately shut him up with a devastating punch to the face. This sheer force of the blow sends the corrupt villain flying across the room, crashing hard against the ground as he groans in utter defeat and agony. Stepping forward, our overpowered hero ruthlessly grabs the old man by his collar, lifting him high into the air while reminding him that trash like him deserves no forgiveness. Mandating to know who his mysterious boss is and where they are hiding right now, suddenly a dark, glitchy curse begins to violently warp the headmaster's face, forcing his eyes to roll back as the silent restriction spell takes his life, gasping out a final cryptic title before black smoke rises from his mouth, leaving Leon to stare down at the lifeless body of the man who knew too much. Frustrated by the dead end, Leon realizes tracking down the true mastermind won't be easy. While in a luxurious room, a mysterious blonde man casually dismisses the headmaster's defeat, treating the fallen villain as nothing more than a disposable pawn in his grand scheme, though he grudgingly admits that our overpowered hero managed to win this round, standing up to gaze out the window with an air of absolute superiority, before flashing a sinister smirk, promising that this setback is far from the end. Sometime later, Leon stands on the academy rooftop with the silver-haired president under a clear sky, who is listening intently as they discuss the aftermath of the chaotic battle, learning that the corrupt headmaster woke up with his entire memory completely wiped out. Although the authorities have taken the brainwashed old man into custody, Leon remains deeply skeptical, pointing out that mysterious gates are still materializing in other parts of the world, suspecting that a dangerous royal named Prince Shark is pulling the strings from the shadows, which only makes our protagonist grip the rooftop railing with a burning sense of resolve, silently swearing that he will hunt down this elusive mastermind no matter what. That night, our usually calm hero tosses and turns in bed, plagued by a sudden nightmare, as memories of a terrifying skeleton boss screaming of his demise flash through his mind, recalling a past life where he was pushed to his absolute limits in battle, alongside the painful memory of a sweet young girl who once begged him to teach her magic, only to remember how Prince Shark initially acted like a trustworthy ally during their joint investigation, before revealing his true monstrous colors by mockingly celebrating the tragic demise of everyone Leon cherished. Leon bolts upright in bed, sweating profusely from the intense nightmare that just plagued him, realizing with a heavy sigh that the horrific memories were thankfully just a dream. Sitting up, our hero gazes out the window at the academy flag waving in the breeze, recalling how the corrupt former headmaster was arrested and dragged away in handcuffs, but the flag reminds him that the elusive Prince Shark is still lurking nearby. Clenching his fist, Leon vows to hunt down this mastermind and make him pay, preparing himself for whatever danger schemes the royal villain might throw his way next. Meanwhile, the morning sun shines brightly over the sprawling campus of the Magic Academy, where students whisper in hushed tones as a mysterious man in red walks past, drawing everyone's attention as he confidently strides down the hallway in a flashy suit. Hearing the news, Leon is surprised to learn that a replacement has already arrived, as the silver-haired president explains that the new headmaster requested a personal meeting today. Our protagonist ponders what kind of person would take over this chaotic school, prompting the president to reveal she has actually known him since she was young. Introducing the prestigious and highly respected wizard by the name of Janice Coleman, she proudly explains that he is a top instructor for an elite magic organization, boasting a highly legendary track record of successfully closing down dangerous gates. Leon secretly hopes this newcomer is actually competent instead of another corrupt fraud. Following the president down the quiet corridor as she gently knocks on the office door. Stepping inside, they are greeted by a smirking man who might be their next big problem. Janice welcomes them with a bright smile as soon as they step into the office, immediately recognizing our hero and dramatically introducing himself with an incredibly flashy, over-the-top pose, leaving Leon completely caught off guard by this bizarrely energetic display of enthusiasm. Still, the eccentric newcomer flashes a sparkling thumbs up, cheerfully declaring his name is Janice Coleman. Leaning over to the president, our boy quietly asks if this guy is always so ridiculous, which she instantly confirms right before Janice brings up the elite organization that sent him, proudly pointing a finger upward to reveal his prestigious background with a group called Saber, explaining that they are top-tier specialists tasked with managing the dangerous gates appearing worldwide. While normal graduates join the standard association, only the absolute best of the best enter Saber, prompting the flashy new headmaster to smugly point at himself as a certified big deal, letting out a boisterous laugh while bragging about his incredibly high rank within the organization. This massive ego trip has both students sweating in disbelief at his sheer lack of modesty, forcing the president to quickly cut in and remind her uncle of the actual meeting topic. Clearing his throat, Janice finally drops the goofy act and turns to face our protagonist, reminding him that their entire world is constantly living under the terrifying threat of gate invasions. A point Leon calmly acknowledges as he waits to hear what the man is really getting at. Unfortunately, Saber is currently facing a severe manpower shortage, leaving this region completely undefended until now. Though Janice notes that local gates usually closed on their own without causing any major disasters, but his expression suddenly darkens as he warns that the situation has drastically changed recently, pointing to the sudden, ominous manifestation of the catastrophic Black Gate that threatens to destroy everything. Leon asks if the situation is so bad that even Saber can't ignore it anymore, with Janice confirming that is exactly why he was sent to this academy. He explains that the higher-ups classified the mysterious Black Gate as a threat beyond Category Red, warning that if the monsters inside ever escaped, hundreds of thousands of lives would be lost. Since Saber is currently short-staffed, they cannot monitor every single gate popping up worldwide, leading the eccentric headmaster to officially ask both students for their direct assistance, catching Leon and the president off guard by claiming they can conquer the Black Gate, revealing that he already received detailed reports about them safely exiting that dangerous zone. Turns out their investigation of the aftermath proved even elite hunters would struggle to survive there, prompting Janice to drop his goofy persona and make a very serious request, asking our overpowered protagonist to lend his immense strength to save their crumbling world. Without a single moment of hesitation, Leon steps forward and firmly grasps the headmaster's hand. This alliance is quickly sealed as Janice beams with absolute satisfaction at his quick success. This president smiles, preparing to reveal that Leon actually cleared the entire dungeon completely solo. Suddenly, a blaring red warning system interrupts her with a massive emergency alert. A dangerous Category Red gate has just materialized right outside the academy grounds. Janice merely smirks, viewing this crisis as the perfect chance to test their skills. While the president worries about his reckless attitude, Leon calmly accepts the challenge. Walking out of the office, our hero prepares to show this newcomer what he can really do. As the two students stand before a towering crimson portal ready to face the incoming raid, Leon and the president stand ready before the massive crimson portal, preparing to step inside. But a familiar voice suddenly calls out from behind, teasing them for leaving him out. Turns out their reliable classmate Narus has arrived to back them up in this dangerous raid. Narus adjusts his glasses, pointing out that having extra firepower is always a smart move. Our protagonist flashes a rare, confident smirk, fully agreeing with his classmates' logical reasoning. With their team of 3 officially assembled, they take their first steps toward the glowing portal. They are determined to completely conquer this Category Red threat together as a united front. Stepping through the threshold, they find themselves inside a massive frozen cavern filled with glowing crystals. This marks the very first time Leon is raiding a dungeon with allies. He recalls Janice's words about wanting to witness their true power during this high-stakes mission. This situation instantly reminds our hero of the comrades he fought alongside in his past life. Looking at her companions, the president silently reflects on how mutual trust is the ultimate weapon. At the same time, Leon acknowledges that cooperating with his new allies is crucial. Without wasting another second, our overpowered protagonist leads the charge straight into the icy depths. They sprint down a steep slope as swarms of dark bats begin to circle above. This silver-haired president quickly warns him that the dungeon's defenders are already waiting for them. Ferocious crystal wolves and a towering stone golem suddenly emerge from the frozen cliffs. Locking his cold gaze onto the incoming horde, Leon calmly declares they will annihilate everything. She eagerly steps forward to freeze the swift wolf-type monsters in their tracks. Massive shards of sharp ice fly forward as she unleashes her devastating icicle lance spell. This ferocious crystal wolves sprint forward, completely ignoring the initial barrage of ice magic, catching the silver-haired president off guard as one beast manages to break through her defenses. But she quickly recovers her composure to channel a powerful surge of dark attribute magic, unleashing her devastating blind edge spell to slice the incoming monster cleanly in half. Meanwhile, Leon calmly prepares his own attack, pointing his finger like a loaded gun, just as the massive stone golem attempts to crush him with a colossal fist, prompting our hero to quickly call out to Nerus to target the giant's glowing eyes, who immediately draws back his glowing bowstring with absolute precision and focus, releasing a high-voltage lightning shot that streaks across the cavern with blinding speed. This electric arrow pierces the monster's weak point, shattering its core in a massive explosion, leaving the giant stone golem to crumble into harmless pebbles behind our unfazed protagonist. Suddenly, a massive swarm of bat monsters descends from the ceiling, worrying the president, but Leon simply tells her not to worry with his signature cool demeanor, channeling a terrifying amount of dark attribute magic to prepare his raging blast spell. A massive purple vortex of pure energy erupts, engulfing the entire cavern in seconds, shredding the flying pests to pieces before they can even get close to them, sending a rain of defeated monsters crashing down to the frozen cavern floor. This president eagerly praises Leon's incredible power, though our boy just lets out a sigh, while she quickly apologizes for failing to hold her own during the chaotic skirmish. And even their reliable classmate Nerus admits his own reaction time was way too slow. Leon reassures his classmate, praising his solid performance against that massive horde of monsters. But Nerus immediately shifts the focus, asking about the bizarre magic used to clear the bats, recalling how that terrifying purple vortex completely obliterated everything in its path, since it clearly didn't look like any ordinary elemental magic he had ever seen. Turning to the president, Nerus asks if she already knew about this hidden power, who confirms she has witnessed it before but still wants to know more, prompting our hero to casually reveal that his power is called Dark Attribute Magic. This shocking revelation leaves both of his classmates completely frozen in disbelief. As Leon explains, it possesses unique properties outside the standard 4 elements, making Nerus realize his friend was holding back during their intense mock battle. But our boy quickly redirects their attention to the main boss of the gate. Following behind him, the silver-haired president silently marvels at his sheer dedication and training, wondering what tragic past could have pushed him to obtain such terrifying strength, hoping that he might finally open up and share his secrets with her someday. Suddenly, a massive ice-blue dragon descends from the frozen ceiling with a deafening roar, and Leon instantly recognizes the colossal beast as the true boss of this dungeon. He recalls fighting these tough-skinned crystal dragons during his legendary past life, instructing his allies to support him by targeting the monster's legs from behind, which both classmates eagerly agree to as they prepare their respective spells, leaving our overpowered protagonist to sprint forward and face the giant beast head-on. Facing down the colossal crystal dragon, Leon locks his eyes on the beast without a shred of fear, while his classmates combine their power to unleash a massive freezing spell called Cositis, trapping the giant monster's legs in solid ice and completely halting its advance. Seizing the perfect opening, our boy channels a terrifying surge of dark magic into his hand, leaping high into the air as the dark attribute energy swirls violently around him, ready to unleash his devastating Calamity Scythe spell to end this battle in one shot. A massive purple crescent tears through the cavern, slicing the colossal beast clean in half, shattering the crystal dragon into harmless glittering fragments as Leon lands with effortless grace. This ridiculous display of power leaves both of his classmates staring in absolute jaw-dropping shock, realizing that dark attribute magic is on a completely different level than standard elements. Meanwhile, Genis waits outside the portal, turning around as he senses the raid wrapping up, cheerfully welcoming the trio back as they step out of the collapsing Crimson Gate, admitting that their incredible speed and coordination far exceeded even his highest expectations. Laughing boisterously, the flashy headmaster brags about easily taking down the stray monsters outside, before noting that having their reliable classmate join the party was a brilliant move, which Leon calmly confirms as he announces the successful closure of the dangerous gate. Genis beams with pride, admitting he completely forgot they were just regular academy students, prompting our protagonist to step forward and pitch a very serious proposal to him, explaining that managing these gates will become the single most important task very soon, and officially requesting the right to form a clan to handle the threats themselves. Genis looks completely baffled by Leon's sudden proposal to form a 3-person gate-clearing clan, but our protagonist calmly points out that a small elite team is much more efficient, leaving the eccentric headmaster to stroke his chin and seriously weigh the bizarre request, admitting that while student-led clans are completely unprecedented, this powerhouse trio might actually pull it off. With a sudden grin, Genis gives them the green light to do whatever they want. even offering to convert their dungeon achievements directly into top-tier academy grades. Leon offers a rare polite thank you as his master plan easily falls into place, turning to his classmates to officially declare the start of their brand new hunter clan. Gathering in a private meeting room, the newly formed squad huddles around a glowing tablet, where the silver-haired president stares in confusion at a map covered in countless colorful pins. Prompting Leon to explain it tracks every single gate he has personally closed so far, which absolutely blows Narusa's mind when he realizes the sheer scale of his friend's solo work. This president instantly connects the dots to those mysterious news reports about rapid gate closures, sweating slightly as she realizes their quiet classmate was the legendary solo hunter all along, while Naruse calls him reckless, a sentiment that even the tiny spirit Luna begrudgingly agrees with. But they quickly reassure him that he won't have to carry the world alone anymore. Hearing their genuine support, our usually stoic hero lets out a soft, appreciative smile, looking forward to finally having reliable comrades by his side for the battles ahead. Though Naruse quickly warns that the massive influx of gates brings a dangerous overflow of magic essence, a term that immediately triggers Leon's memories of his very first days in this world. While magic essence can help some lucky individuals awaken their dormant elemental powers, it acts as a deadly poison to anyone lacking the proper magical aptitude, meaning an overflow of this energy would cause an absolute catastrophe in the city, prompting Leon to suggest they immediately start patrolling to prevent any potential disasters. Stepping out into the quiet night, the trio begins their search under the streetlights, keeping their eyes peeled for any unusual magical fluctuations in the surrounding area. Suddenly, the silver-haired president spots something suspicious moving in the shadows ahead. Realizing that members of the elite Saber organization are already monitoring the exact same sector, our hero notes that the headmaster's warnings about Saber's increased surveillance were entirely accurate, while Naruse points out that these guards are clearly high-ranking elites of their order. Before they can investigate further, Leon senses a massive spike in magical energy nearby, just as the Saber guards receive an urgent radio transmission about a sudden gate outbreak, confirming that a dangerous rift has indeed opened up in their immediate vicinity. This guards quickly scramble to head southwest where the threat has just manifested, forcing our protagonist's team to immediately follow them to secure the area. Leaping across the rooftops, the three students sprint toward the source of the chaos, arriving to find a street engulfed in flames as panicked civilians flee for safety, where a massive crimson gate looms ominously over the burning wreckage of the city. In the middle of the panic, a young girl trips and falls to the ground, leaving her completely defenseless as a ferocious wolf monster leaps down to attack her. This terrified little girl squeezes her eyes shut as the beast's razor-sharp jaws close in. But Leon is already on the move, channeling a dense surge of dark attribute magic, unleashing a brutal, deadly claw spell that shreds the monster to pieces in an instant. Standing tall over the defeated beast, our hero barely even breaks a sweat as he turns around, prompting the relieved mother to hug her daughter tightly while thanking him for the rescue. Spotting the local Saber guards nearby, Leon decides to leave the crowd control to them, walking away quietly while the rescued family watches his retreating back in absolute silence, with the little girl completely starstruck by the mysterious hero who just saved her life. Our boy keeps his cool, focused entirely on the massive crimson rift looming ahead of them. Over at the gate, the situation is rapidly deteriorating as Saber guards struggle to maintain order, desperately trying to contact their vanguard team who went inside to clear the dungeon, when suddenly, the lead guard notices our trio approaching the chaotic scene and demands their names. Leon calmly introduces his squad as academy students operating under the direct permission of Headmaster Genis, which immediately rings a bell for the guard, who recognizes them from recent academy rumors. Getting straight to business, our protagonist asks about the emergency report they received earlier, leaving the guard to explain that their clearing team has gone completely radio silent inside, meaning a major disaster must have occurred within the dangerous depths of the gate. Naruse asks why they aren't launching a rescue mission, but the guards are completely overwhelmed outside, prioritizing civilian evacuation while praying their trapped comrades can somehow survive on their own, prompting Leon and his crew to exchange determined looks, ready to handle the rescue themselves. Leon casually tells the guard to handle the perimeter while his squad heads straight into the danger zone, but the panicked officer tries to stop them, screaming that students shouldn't enter a Category Red gate, only for a loud booming laugh to interrupt him from behind, telling him to relax, leaving the guard completely stunned as he recognizes the flashy headmaster, Instructor Genis, standing there. This eccentric headmaster proudly boasts that these kids are some of the most talented wizards alive, praising their incredible resolve and deep sense of duty as they prepare to face the threat. Stepping through the portal, the trio finds themselves in a dark, eerie forest, shrouded in thick mist, prompting the silver-haired president to warily point out how difficult it is to see through the fog. Though Naruse quickly reminds her that their mission remains exactly the same regardless of the weather, and with a sharp nod, our protagonist prepares to lead them deeper into the unknown. Our boy reminds his comrades that this is their very first official gate conquest as a clan, sprinting forward into the gloomy woods as they immediately spot a trail of defeated wolf monsters, which the president realizes must have been left behind by the missing Saber Vanguard team, making Naruse sweat as he realizes they are walking into a disaster that crushed elite hunters. Our hero warns them that the boss ahead is likely a force to be reckoned with, leaving the president to initially assume Leon's overpowered dark magic will easily carry them through, before she quickly corrects herself, refusing to let him carry the entire burden of their clan alone. Naruse silently agrees, determined to stop lagging behind his monstrously strong friend and prove his worth. as both classmates leap forward with newfound resolve to show off their own combat capabilities, only to suddenly halt as they spot a bizarre, glowing blue slime monster blocking their path. Inside the gate, the elite Saber Vanguard team is already struggling hard against an unseen threat, launching a barrage of massive fireballs to push back whatever is lurking in the mist. But their coordinated elemental attacks explode harmlessly against a bizarrely durable defense, revealing a strange ribcage-like shield that completely absorbs the intense heat. It turns out their opponent is a massive blue slime protecting its vulnerable inner core. This Vanguard leader grits his teeth in frustration as his injured comrade collapses behind him, who desperately begs his senior to leave him behind and escape the dungeon alone, though the stubborn leader refuses to abandon his teammate as the slime leaps to strike, quickly raising a defensive earth wall to block the monster's incoming liquid tentacles. But the creature's sheer physical force easily shatters the barrier into harmless pebbles. Sent flying by the impact, the leader coughs up blood as he crashes onto the dirt, leaving the wounded junior to weep in despair, blaming himself for their imminent doom, just as the slime readies a lethal barrage of projectiles to finish them both off, until a sudden, terrifying blast of purple dark magic tears through the gloomy forest, vaporizing the monster's deadly attack in an instant and saving the helpless guards. Staring in absolute disbelief, the battered leader looks up to see who saved them, as Leon calmly steps into view, immediately identifying them as the missing Saber Vanguard, prompting the stunned guard to ask if they are actually just high school students, while the silver-haired president ignores the question, instantly identifying the slime's glowing blue core and calling on Naruse to help her shatter it as they prepare to fight. With a fierce look in her eyes, the president rallies the team to charge forward, launching herself off the ground with a powerful leap to strike the monster first. But the agile blue slime reacts instantly, shifting its massive body to counter her assault, prompting a panicked warning from Naruse as he realizes she jumped straight into a trap. A massive glob of sticky liquid shoots through the air directly at her face, completely trapping the helpless president as she struggles to break free from the suffocating slime. Naruse sprints forward to save her, desperately calling out her name as he rushes in, only to get instantly tripped up by another sneaky puddle, crashing face-first onto the dirt, leaving both of them completely at the mercy of the rapidly closing monster. Fortunately, our overpowered protagonist steps up, calmly channeling his signature dark attribute magic, unleashing a devastating evil burst spell that slams directly into the creature's gelatinous body, which blows the monster away and allows the stunned president to finally catch her breath. Purple explosions of dark energy ripple through the forest, completely overwhelming the slime's defenses and exposing its vulnerable blue core to the full force of Leon's destructive power. As the injured Vanguard leader watches in absolute shock while the threat dissolves, standing protectively in front of his battered classmates, our hero coldly warns the remaining beasts. He swings a massive scythe of pure dark energy to finish this battle once and for all. Channeling his immense power, he unleashes a colossal wave of purple magical force, shredding every single monster in the area while he strikes an incredibly cool pose. This rescued Saber Guards can only stare in sheer disbelief at the high schooler's godlike power. This rescued Vanguard team erupts in cheers, completely amazed by Leon's overwhelming display of power, while the president smiles warmly and Naruse tries to look cool in the background. Back outside the gate, the entire local division gathers to welcome the victorious student group, with their leader stepping forward to express his deepest gratitude for saving his elite squad, though our humble protagonist casually brushes it off as just doing their civic duty. Headmaster Genis bursts into a proud laugh, eagerly bragging about his students' incredible magical talents, leaving the humbled officer to admit he was completely wrong to underestimate these young academy wizards. On his command, the entire squad snaps to attention to show their ultimate respect, saluting the trio as they formally thank them for preventing a massive citywide catastrophe, which our hero accepts with his usual calm demeanor before heading back to his dorms. Later that night, his energetic little fairy companion floats around the room celebrating their massive success, reminding him that saving the elite Saber squad is a massive achievement for their new clan. She even mentions that the organization wants to recruit him immediately after graduation, which feels incredibly rushed, until a sudden, unexpected knock at the door completely cuts off their late-night conversation. His little spirit quickly vanishes as Leon wonders who could possibly be visiting at this hour, opening the door with a puzzled expression to find a very unexpected guest waiting outside, revealing the silver-haired president standing in the hallway, looking surprisingly nervous and out of character. Our boy asks if something went wrong, wondering why she would visit him at this late hour. But she hesitates, her face turning red as she struggles to find the right words, before shyly asking if she can have just a brief moment of his time. She looks him dead in the eye and asks him to teach her magic, explaining that she simply cannot stand being weak after their disastrous dungeon run, which makes our boy realize this isn't just some late-night social call. She is still clearly traumatized by how easily that blue slime captured her earlier, but instead of needing sweet words of comfort, she wants real power. Leon stands up and readily agrees to train her if she is truly ready, prompting a bright, relieved smile from the usually stern student council president, showing that underneath her tough exterior, she is actually incredibly straightforward with her goals. They head straight up to the school rooftop under the stars, only for a sudden voice to accuse them of sneaking off together, revealing Naruse, who dramatically demands to join their secret late-night training session. He gets hilariously defensive, complaining that it is totally unfair for her to get a head start, which just makes Leon smile at how easily his friend wears his heart on his sleeve. Clearing his throat to save some face, the glasses-wearing mage tries to act cool, reminding Leon that as a clan they cannot afford to fall behind their overpowered leader. Our protagonist gladly accepts the challenge, ready to push both of his comrades to their limits, and under the glowing light of the full moon, the lesson officially begins. Leon acknowledges that they both have excellent control and can already cast advanced magic, but his expression suddenly turns dead serious as he pauses for a moment, telling them they must first completely correct their terrible and deeply ingrained combat habits. Leon points out that the president has a bad habit of charging ahead of everyone in battle, which immediately reminds her of her reckless leap straight into the blue slime's trap, explaining that this hyper-focus leaves her completely vulnerable to unexpected attacks from her blind spots. Turning his attention to Naruse, our hero suggests he needs to start making combat predictions much earlier, leaving the glasses-wearing mage looking a bit confused about what that advice actually means. Leon explains that the absolute key to surviving real combat is always preparing for the worst, reminding his friend that he should have anticipated getting ambushed while rushing to save the president. Naruse sighs and readily agrees, admitting he got completely flustered once things started going sideways, noting that school mock battles simply cannot prepare them for the chaotic variables of a real dungeon, which is exactly why Leon tells them they must drastically widen their field of vision. To kick off their training, our overpowered protagonist points his finger and channels his dark magic, summoning a menacing purple shadow wolf right in front of his startled classmates, reassuring them it is just a harmless recreation designed to test their dodging and casting skills. With determined expressions, both of his comrades steel their resolve and prepare to begin the exercise, leaping backward as the shadow beast lunges forward with surprisingly swift and aggressive strikes, forcing them to constantly move while coordinating their elemental spells to counter the threat. After a grueling round of dodging, an exhausted Naruse suggests they take a quick break, though he quickly tries to save face by claiming this level of training is nothing to him. Leon silently observes them, deeply impressed by how desperately both of his friends want to grow stronger, before Naruse cryptically mentions that the president's intense drive is likely tied to her family position. Naruse explains that the president belongs to the prestigious Izumiya family, renowned for producing outstanding wizards, revealing that her relatives are constantly fighting on the dangerous front lines to secure active gates, which explains why she carries such an intense, self-sacrificing sense of duty during their raids. She originally chose this path to protect the world from the constant threat of monster invasions. Hearing this, Leon silently reflects on her heavy burden and the pressure she constantly faces, while Naruse admits that supporting someone with such a stubborn personality has never been easy. Adjusting his glasses as he confesses this is the exact reason he strives for greater power. This glasses-wearing mage awkwardly apologizes for their past mock battle, though he still refuses to lose, prompting our protagonist to smile at how his sundry friend simply cannot be honest with himself. Leon calls for them to resume their training, determined to push their limits even further. Meanwhile, Headmaster Genis sips his tea while watching the distant magical explosions light up the night, and a whole month quickly passes as the trio embarks on a brand new dungeon raid, immediately encountering a colossal gray giant that towers over them with a massive wooden club. Our hero commands his teammates to target the main body while he creates a perfect opening, dodging a devastating ground slam by leaping onto the monster's shoulder with incredible speed and agility, channeling his signature dark magic into his scythe as he prepares to deliver a lethal blow, slicing through the air with a brilliant flash of purple energy to disarm the beast. This giant's massive arms are instantly severed, allowing his classmates to safely charge ahead. Unfortunately, a strange green slime bubbles from the wounds as the creature begins to rapidly regenerate, manifesting a brand new muscular hand that is ready to crush them in an instant. This giant swings its newly regenerated fist down with terrifying force to crush them, but Naruse and the president are already prepared, channeling their elemental magic in perfect unison, unleashing a coordinated barrage of lightning shot and icicle lance directly at the towering beast. This massive creature takes the combined elemental assault head-on, unable to dodge their swift attacks, as a devastating beam of pure magical energy pierces straight through its chest, completely vaporizing the monster while our victorious students calmly watch it crumble to dust. Celebrating their flawless victory, the Vanguard team and the president share a proud fist bump, while a mysterious blonde man watches their triumph on a screen from the shadows, musing that the world always seems to call for a savior in times of crisis, but a sinister smirk plays on his lips as he plots his next move, looking out over a glowing pink field where his secret experiment is nearing completion. He whispers that he is eagerly looking forward to finally meeting our overpowered protagonist. Meanwhile, back at the academy, the morning news has the entire student body buzzing, with gossip spreading like wildfire through the crowded cafeteria during the lunch rush. 2 students read about the president's new clan successfully conquering high-level dungeon gates, utterly amazed that even the elite Saber Squad has given them such high praise. Before the red-haired boy points out that Leon is also listed as a member, prompting his friend to laughingly remind him of his own embarrassing defeat against him, making the humbled student sweat nervously as he insists the loss was totally unavoidable. Flashbacks of getting utterly destroyed flood his mind, proving he had no idea how strong Leon was. This gossip in the cafeteria continues as students discuss Leon training the student council leaders, admitting that our protagonist has reached a level of power that is completely out of reach. Suddenly, one of the gossiping mages stops mid-sentence and points toward the cafeteria entrance, because Leon himself just walked in, flanked by the president and a smug-looking Narus. While the president feels a bit self-conscious about all the staring, Narus absolutely loves the attention. But before they can even grab lunch, a nervous female student suddenly approaches our hero, leaving Leon completely caught off guard when she shyly asks if she can thank him. She explains that her family lives right next to the gate they cleared the other day, bowing deeply to show her genuine gratitude for saving her loved ones from total disaster. This heartfelt thank you triggers a wave of nostalgic memories from Leon's previous life, reminding him of the grateful villagers he used to protect back in his original world. This noble lords who praised him for saving their territories from devastating famines, along with happy merchants who could finally feed their families without fear of monster raids, and the cheerful children who always ran out to greet him after a successful quest. Even the king himself used to welcome Leon back to the palace with open arms. A soft smile plays on our hero's face as he realizes his core purpose remains unchanged, while the surrounding students continue to whisper about how he has basically become a school hero. They marvel at how the academy's lowest-ranked student could completely turn his life around like this, which only seems to irritate the red-haired rival who is silently watching from the sidelines, scoffing to himself before turning around and walking away, clearly not ready to accept defeat. Walking away from the crowd, the president teases Leon about how nice it feels to be thanked. But our protagonist is more focused on why Headmaster Genis suddenly summoned them to his office, wondering what kind of urgent business the academy's leader could possibly have with their newly formed clan. Entering the office, they find the headmaster standing by the window, apologizing for the sudden call, before he bursts into laughter and praises the trio for their incredible performance in the dungeons. Genis specifically commends the president and Narus, noting how much their combat skills have recently improved, prompting Makoto to proudly credit Leon's brutal training while Narus reluctantly agrees with a smug shrug. When the president asks about the meeting's purpose, her uncle reaches into his desk drawer with a smile, leaving her completely confused as she asks where exactly they are supposed to be going. Grinning broadly, the headmaster pulls out his car keys, announcing they are visiting Saber's local branch, and soon enough, their luxury white car is speeding down the highway toward their mysterious destination. This headmaster explains that the vice branch chief of Saber specifically requested a personal meeting with Leon, which makes our curious protagonist ask Narus if he knows anything about this high-ranking official. Narus reveals the man's name is Nihama Reiji, a legendary prodigy even among Saber's elite hunters, explaining that he was actually the Academy's very first student council president and an exceptionally skilled wizard who remained completely undefeated in mock battles during his time as a student at the school. Since graduation, Reiji has successfully cleared countless high-level gates, cementing his status as a top-tier hunter. This president wonders why such a famous powerhouse would want to meet them, but Genis just laughs, forcing Leon to silently ponder what kind of person this legendary senior is and what he wants. As they finally pull up to the grand estate of Saber's prestigious 7th branch, Genis leads the group down a lavish hallway, announcing their arrival at the meeting room. Inside, a man sits casually on a large leather couch, welcoming them as they step in, turning around with a smug grin to address the famous students from the recent rumors. This legendary hunter mentions hearing about their newly formed clan and their impressive gate-clearing streak, stepping forward as he explains that he simply had to meet them in person. Reiji towers over our protagonist with an overbearing attitude, asking if he is happy to meet him, prompting Leon's little spirit companion to immediately complain about how incredibly arrogant this guy is. Offering a handshake, the elite hunter casually greets our hero while looking down on him. But as their hands clasp together, a sudden shift in the atmosphere takes place, because Reiji unleashes a massive, terrifying blue wolf aura filled with pure killing intent, catching Leon completely off guard as the overwhelming pressure threatens to crush his spirit. Makoto and Narus look on in confusion, completely oblivious to the brief clash of power, while Reiji backs off with a chuckle, thoroughly impressed that the boy actually felt it. He tells them to relax, casually admitting he was just testing our hero's reflexes, explaining that he originally planned to send them home but has suddenly changed his mind, pointing a finger at Leon as he boldly challenges him to an immediate duel. Soon, they relocate to Saber's massive indoor training grounds to settle things once and for all, though Reiji complains that the empty arena lacks the exciting audience he usually prefers, smiling as he notes that this private space will let Leon unleash his full power, leaving our silent protagonist to stare back with a fierce, ready-for-anything expression. Leon is completely stunned by the sudden proposal of a mock battle with the elite hunter, while Reiji casually admits he is a total battle maniac who sees immense potential in him, explaining that our hero's ability to sense his hidden killing intent proved his high combat level, leaving the legendary hunter waiting for a response to his sudden and highly unexpected challenge. Our protagonist silently analyzes his opponent, knowing Saber only recruits the absolute best of the best, and though he is naturally curious about the man's skills, a deeper mystery drives him forward, because he absolutely needs to uncover the source of that terrifying wolf aura from earlier. Watching from the sidelines, Headmaster Genis sighs at how his former student never changes his aggressive ways, guessing that the veteran simply wants to measure Leon's true strength for their future operations. Narus remains highly skeptical, pointing out that facing a top-tier professional is a completely different beast. But Makoto immediately defends our hero, expressing absolute faith in his ability to overcome any obstacle. Back on the field, Reiji smirks as he conjures a blazing fireball to start their test, launching the fiery projectile straight at our protagonist with a wild, highly competitive grin. Leon calmly tracks the incoming attack, identifying it as basic magic that should be easy to block, but the elite hunter is already moving, determined to keep him on his toes the entire time. A sudden explosion rocks the arena as the fiery blast is cleanly sliced right down the middle, leaving the shocked spectators wondering how our hero managed to split the flames so effortlessly, before Reiji closes the distance in a flash, unleashing a devastating physical strike that shatters the ground. His eyes widen in pure shock when he realizes Leon is already one step ahead of him, as a massive burst of magical energy erupts across the battlefield to conclude their intense opening exchange. Reiji smirks as he realizes his initial attack didn't even graze our overpowered protagonist, praising Leon for managing to pull off a flawless counterattack right in the middle of that chaos. Turns out our boy used a quick ice barrier to block the blast, using the smoke as cover. This clever tactic only makes the legendary hunter smile, realizing this fight is going to be incredibly fun. Watching from the sidelines, Makoto marvels at Leon's reflexes but wonders how Reiji split his own fireball, prompting Genis to explain that it requires insane magic control to manipulate a spell after launching it. Meanwhile, Naruse is having a quiet existential crisis as he watches the battle unfold, remembering how Leon pulled off the exact same high-level magic manipulation during their own mock duel, leaving the humbled student to curse the massive unfair gap in their power levels. Back on the field, Reiji is absolutely thrilled and eagerly declares it is time for round 2, summoning a massive green vortex of wind magic that begins to tear up the arena floor. This terrifying storm cyclone spell expands rapidly, threatening to swallow our protagonist whole. Leon quickly realizes this guy's raw firepower actually surpasses the strongest wizards from his previous world, deciding his best option is to immediately retreat and find a better angle to strike back, leaping high into the air to escape the raging wind and prepare his next move. Suddenly, a massive torrent of water erupts across the battlefield, catching the elite hunter completely off guard. Reiji grunts in frustration as he recognizes the water attribute magic heading straight for him, forcing him to leap backward to avoid getting drenched by the sudden elemental counterattack. Smirking mid-air, the veteran hunter prepares a devastating earth spell to target Leon while he is airborne, unleashing a barrage of massive rocks to end this intense duel once and for all. Reiji moves with blinding speed, leaving a trail of afterimages as he pursues our airborne hero, using the floating rocks from his own earth spell as convenient stepping stones to launch himself higher. This veteran hunter conjures a massive blade of pure magical energy to strike from above, forcing Leon to quickly raise his own glowing sword to block the devastating downward slash. Their blades clash in a spectacular shower of sparks as Reiji grins down at his opponent, but the sheer force of the impact sends our protagonist sliding backward across the arena. Regaining his footing with a stylish slide, Leon prepares himself while the spectators watch in suspense. Reiji stands across the cracked battlefield, casually admitting that the kid has done incredibly well so far, before his smug grin returns as he asks if Leon is still hiding a secret trump card. He mentions hearing rumors from his subordinates about a mysterious magic they couldn't quite identify, warning our hero that trying to hide such power from a veteran is completely useless, demanding with an intense, crazed look that Leon finally unleash his true strength right now. Our protagonist calmly lowers his guard, quietly conceding that there might be some truth to those rumors, as a dark, crackling purple flame suddenly begins to manifest around his right hand, offering a confident smirk of his own as he promises to show the veteran his real power. Laughing out loud, the veteran hunter mockingly asks if Leon is finally done putting on airs, which prompts our hero to calmly explain that he simply hoped to win without resorting to it. This bold statement catches the elite hunter completely off guard, making his eyes widen in surprise, instantly recognizing the ominous purple flame as the legendary undocumented attribute mentioned in the reports. A wild, excited grin spreads across Reiji's face as he realizes this fight is getting genuinely interesting. Headmaster Genis watches in awe, admitting it is his very first time seeing Leon's legendary dark magic, while Makoto confidently tells her uncle to watch closely because he is in for a massive surprise. Reiji eagerly charges forward with his ice blade, demanding to see what our hero's magic can truly do, closing the distance in a flash to deliver a devastating downward strike directly at our protagonist. But Leon calmly prepares his counter, channeling his dark attribute magic to manifest his signature weapon, instantly summoning the Calamity Scythe to cleanly shatter the veteran's reinforced ice sword in a single clash. Our hero maintains a completely calm expression as frozen shards rain down all around the battlefield, forcing the surprised elite hunter to slide backward across the arena floor to regain his footing. Reiji stares at his broken weapon in disbelief, shocked that his magically enhanced blade was destroyed so easily, quickly realizing that the rumors about this mysterious purple scythe were definitely not an exaggeration. Watching from the sidelines, Naruse notes how incredibly experienced the Vice Branch Chief is at high-level combat, wondering if the veteran hunter still has a secret trick up his sleeve to turn things around. Reiji smiles warmly, calling Leon an interesting opponent and asking if he has even more dark spells hidden, prompting our protagonist to casually shrug it off while pointing out that the veteran is barely trying. Laughing heartily, the elite hunter admits that Leon is definitely not a typical academy brat, before his eyes turn dead serious as he promises to show our hero his true magical capabilities. A massive, roaring green vortex of wind magic suddenly erupts around the veteran, shaking the entire arena. But he doesn't stop there, immediately conjuring a blazing fireball in his hand for the final round, leaving Makoto and Naruse completely speechless as they realize he is casting two different elements simultaneously. While Leon's little spirit companion shivers in fear at the insane difficulty of mastering dual attributes, Reiji stands in a swirling green and orange vortex, daring our hero to try and stop him, unleashing his devastating composite magic by combining wind and fire into a single deadly technique. As a massive scorching wind onslaught called Blaze Raid completely engulfs the entire training arena, Leon quickly realizes the sheer scale of this attack makes it impossible to simply block or dodge, deciding his only real option is to meet the veteran's ultimate move head-on with his own power. Our protagonist channels his legendary dark attribute magic, preparing to unleash a counterspell of his own, launching a massive raging blast of purple energy that collides directly with the swirling fiery vortex, causing a spectacular explosion of elemental forces that threatens to tear the entire battlefield apart, because the dark purple flames slowly begin to consume and completely erase Reiji's composite magic, leaving the veteran hunter staring in absolute disbelief as the dust finally begins to settle. Up in the stands, Makoto and the other spectators watch the aftermath with wide, speechless eyes, while Reiji sweats in pure shock, wondering how a mere student could cancel out his ultimate spell, realizing that Leon had to time his counterattack down to these exact milliseconds to survive. This level of god-tier magic control is something even seasoned professional hunters can rarely achieve, making the battle-maniac veteran grin with excitement at the thought of such a monstrous opponent. Stepping forward with a sigh, the elite hunter suddenly decides to call off the mock battle, scratching his head as he casually admits that Leon's dark magic completely shut him down, explaining that while he wants to keep fighting, the entire training facility will literally collapse, pointing a finger at our hero to playfully warn him not to count this as a loss, before promising that they will definitely settle their score in a real battle sometime in the future. Luna is already acting incredibly smug, taking full credit for our boy's overwhelming victory. Meanwhile, Reiji casually plans to recruit Leon just to dump all his future paperwork on him, before Makoto walks over to praise our hero for surviving that insane mock battle. This veteran hunter suddenly strokes his chin as a brilliant idea pops into his head, asking if the talented trio has already gone ahead and formed an official student clan, which leads him to offer them an exclusive, high-paying job before they even graduate. Cut to the grand headquarters of Saber's branch, where the real business is about to begin. Our crew gathers around a massive briefing table to hear the details of this mysterious assignment, as Reiji pulls up a highly detailed map showing the distribution of active gates. Leon silently notes that this massive guild possesses far more intel than he could ever gather alone, while Makoto guesses they will be patrolling the areas with the highest monster activity. But the veteran shakes his head, pointing to a massive, completely blank spot on the screen, explaining that while gates have spawned everywhere for 10 years, this zone remains completely untouched. This bizarre anomaly immediately sends a shiver down Naruse's spine as he realizes the danger, prompting our protagonist to deduce that something incredibly powerful must be hiding in that dead zone. Reiji admits his scouts found nothing, though a master of stealth could easily bypass normal detection, so he directly asks Leon to lead a specialized investigation of the area. Pondering the offer, Leon weighs the massive risks of stepping into such unpredictable territory, until his loyal teammates offer confident nods, showing they are ready to follow him anywhere, leaving Leon to flash a determined smirk as he officially accepts this dangerous new quest. Arriving at the designated investigation zone, Leon looks down a quiet street bathed in the evening sun, ready to begin their search for whatever bizarre anomaly has been keeping this area completely deserted, though Makoto quickly points out that everything looks perfectly normal and suggests asking the locals for info. Scanning the peaceful streets, the trio observes the ordinary citizens going about their daily lives without a care, prompting our hero to directly question a local guard to see if anything unusual has happened lately. Unfortunately, their initial investigation yields absolutely zero useful leads from anyone in the neighborhood. Just as they prepare to regroup, Leon notices his little spirit companion acting incredibly restless, as Luna warns him that she can sense a highly unusual presence lingering nearby, pointing them directly toward a dark, narrow alleyway that seems completely out of place. Naruse nervously questions why they are suddenly heading into a sketchy back street, wondering if they found something, while our protagonist silently confirms with Luna that a strange supernatural power is definitely radiating from here. Staring deep into the shadows, Leon realizes this hidden energy might be the key to their mission. Deciding it is worth a shot, he immediately begins channeling his signature dark attribute magic, unleashing a powerful dispel spell that crackles with intense purple energy to strip away any active illusions, leaving his teammates completely speechless as the dark alleyway begins to warp right before their eyes. This dispelled illusion reveals a massive, hidden stone staircase leading deep into the underground abyss. Knowing they cannot turn back now, the determined team quickly agrees to head down and investigate. Descending the endless steps, Makoto and Naruse nervously wonder what kind of monster could be waiting below, until Leon suddenly spots a faint glow, announcing that they have finally reached the very bottom, only to freeze in absolute shock as a bizarre, unexpected sight greets him at the end. Reaching the bottom of the stairs, the trio is greeted by a massive glowing field of red flowers. Makoto looks down in confusion, admitting she has never seen these bizarre glowing plants before, but Leon's attention is immediately drawn to something far more sinister, hiding in the darkness ahead, spotting a high-tech console that looks identical to the device Shido used to manifest illegal gates. Naruse points out that Shido is locked up, meaning this facility shouldn't even be active, leading our protagonist to realize that a completely different mastermind must be pulling the strings. Suddenly, a loud security alarm blares through the chamber, announcing that intruders have been detected, as a massive multi-legged defense robot drops from the ceiling to execute its disposal orders. Leon quickly warns his team that this mechanical beast is locked onto their exact positions, ordering everyone to prepare for combat as the machine charges a blinding blue energy core, unleashing a devastating laser blast that tears through the cavernous room with terrifying speed, forcing our heroes to leap backward as the explosive energy completely shatters the stone floor. This relentless machine immediately deploys a spinning, star-shaped drone to keep up the pressure, whipping its heavy metal limbs around to crush the intruders before they can even land. Dodging the strike, Leon commands Makoto and Naruse to flank the mechanical beast from both sides, prompting the red-haired mage to instantly summon a massive icicle lance to pierce its armor, while Naruse draws his bow to unleash a crackling lightning shot directly at the target. Our protagonist channels his legendary dark attribute magic to prepare a devastating finishing blow, firing his signature Deadly Claw to strike the defense robot simultaneously with his teammates' spells, sending the heavily damaged machine crashing to the ground in a spectacular explosion of sparks. Leon stands victorious over the shattered defense robot, but a creepy voice suddenly echoes through the chamber, warning him not to damage the beautiful glowing garden as a strange red mist begins to swirl, leaving our protagonist completely stunned as he tries to locate the source of this sudden intrusion. In an instant, the entire cavern warps into a bizarre blood-red maze that defies all logic, prompting a worried Luna to quickly check if her master is doing all right after the sudden shift, while a long-haired man in a sleek suit steps out from the shadows with a sinister grin, addressing our hero by his true original name of Kurobane Ren to establish his terrifying authority. Our protagonist demands to know his identity, but his little spirit companion is already trembling in pure terror, sensing that this overwhelming presence belongs to an entity from an entirely different dimension, which leaves our protagonist frozen in shock as he tries to process this impossible revelation. Suddenly, horrific memories of a past life flash before his eyes, showing a ruthless knight holding a severed head, recalling the exact moment he was betrayed and stabbed by a shadowy, smiling mastermind, fueling Leon with an absolute burning rage as he finally recognizes his ultimate nemesis, this legendary villain known as Shark, who simply smiles back with chilling amusement. This smug intruder chuckles softly, expressing his delight at finally meeting the legendary Kurobane Ren, forcing our hero to grit his teeth and demand how this monk could possibly know his name. Shark casually reveals that he received a detailed report from the Academy's former headmaster, Shido, confirming Leon's worst suspicions that the corrupt headmaster was indeed working with this dimensional threat. Reassuring a panicked Luna that he will be fine, our protagonist steels his resolve for the ultimate confrontation, ready to destroy Shark Crandall, the man who stole everything precious to him in his previous life. Leon clenches his fist in pure rage, finally tracking down his ultimate nemesis in this new world. Luna nervously recalls how Shark destroyed everything Leon loved, making this a deeply personal battle for revenge. Although this smug villain has no idea who Leon really is, his mysterious power remains completely unknown, leaving his tiny spirit companion to desperately pray for her master's safety in the coming clash. Shark casually mocks our hero, admitting he is genuinely surprised a mere student could defeat his mechanical guardian, prompting Leon to demand answers about the bizarre glowing flowers and the illegal gate manifestation device. But the smug mastermind simply refuses to talk, claiming there is absolutely no point in explaining his plans. With a chilling smile, his eyes suddenly glow with a blinding divine energy that signals the start of combat. Instantly, a massive torrent of golden light erupts from the villain, completely engulfing the entire red cavern, forcing our protagonist to shield his eyes as he struggles to identify this incredibly bizarre magical attribute. While Shark proudly boasts that he alone wields the legendary holy power of the light attribute, Leon quickly realizes his enemy never possessed this holy magic in their past lives, suspecting outside interference. Still, the absolute irony of a ruthless mass murderer wielding holy light is almost too hilarious to bear, as Shark manifests a massive glowing sword of pure energy to initiate their long-awaited deathmatch. Observing the giant blade, Leon notes that this ancient magic completely transcends any modern elemental classifications. But our overpowered protagonist is not about to let himself be outshined by some flashy golden tricks, channeling his own legendary dark magic to summon a massive jet-black scythe that crackles with purple energy. This sudden display of dark power catches Shark off guard, making him wonder what other secrets Leon hides. This villain smiles as he realizes the Academy reports vastly underestimated our hero's mastery over multiple attributes, eagerly swinging his sword of light as he prepares to clash with Leon's deadly dark scythe. Leon wastes no time and lunges forward, swinging his massive dark scythe with lethal intent. But Shark meets him head-on, unleashing a blinding wave of holy light from his sword, sending a massive shockwave of purple and gold energy rippling through the entire cavern, forcing our boy to quickly reposition as he prepares his next high-speed magical assault, while the smug villain effortlessly glides backward to create some distance between them. Shark casually compliments his moves before offering to show him what real power looks like, leaving Leon to warily wonder what kind of trick this monster is planning next. until a sudden, blinding beam of golden energy grazes right past his face, erupting into a massive pillar of light that nearly vaporizes everything in its path, leaving our protagonist with a fresh cut on his cheek as he grunts in pain, while Shark simply smiles, thoroughly amused that his opponent actually managed to survive that strike. Looking at his scraped arm, Leon realizes a single direct hit would be absolutely fatal, as the villain mockingly claims Leon's strength is the kind that could save the world, before his expression turns incredibly dark, admitting he absolutely despises self-righteous heroes, explaining that slaughtering talented people like Leon brings him the ultimate sadistic pleasure. This disgusting confession immediately pushes our protagonist past his absolute limit of patience, slamming his scythe into the ground as he tells the villain to shut up, channeling a massive crackling purple flame in his hand to prepare a brand new spell, which leaves Shark utterly confused as to why his opponent would discard his main weapon. But deciding it doesn't matter, the villain charges forward to end this fight once and for all. Lishan channels his dark attribute magic directly into his fist, preparing a surprise counterattack, instantly unleashing a massive chainbind spell that wraps tightly around the charging villain, leaving Shark completely immobilized and utterly shocked by our boy's sudden tactical shift. Stepping forward to deliver the final blow, Leon coldly declares that this is the end, swinging his dark energy blade to slice right through his helpless nemesis. But instead of blood, the villain's body begins to shatter into glowing golden particles, revealing with a smug grin that this entire physical form was just an illusion, promising that they will surely cross paths again to settle their massive debt. As the projection completely dissolves, Shark vows to face him with his true body next time, prompting our protagonist to take a deep breath and process this frustratingly close encounter, until a familiar voice suddenly calls out his name, breaking him out of his thoughts. Makoto rushes over in a panic, desperately asking what on earth just happened down here, though Leon quickly deflects, suggesting they escape this dangerous underground cavern before explaining anything, silently accepting the villain's challenge as his eyes glow with a quiet, burning intensity. Looking back at the empty cavern, he swears to definitely settle things during their next meeting. A few days later, our hero walks along the school rooftop under a clear blue sky, discussing with his little spirit companion how they still have 0 leads on Shark's location. But Luna cheerfully reassures him that their nemesis will eventually show his face again, confidently declaring that Leon's overpowered dark magic will easily secure their victory when that day comes. Staring quietly into the horizon, our boy remains silent, ready for whatever challenges lie ahead. Standing on the school rooftop, Leon suddenly turns to his little spirit companion with a burning question. He wonders why his dark attribute magic was labeled as a gift from the holy goddess, pointing out that a divine deity should logically be handing out holy light magic instead. Luna gasps in sudden realization, finally understanding the bizarre mechanics behind his overpowered dark abilities. She explains that the deep abyss he fell into was completely saturated with dark magic particles, warning him that ordinary humans would instantly lose control and crumble to dust from the exposure. Remembering the suffocating pressure of that deadly pit, our boy finally connects the dots of his survival, while his companion explains how magic talent actually blossoms from absorbing surrounding environmental particles, since those lethal dark particles only exist in the absolute deepest corners of the underworld. This goddess had no choice but to utilize the local energy to save his life. This explains why those incomprehensible system messages from his early days were so glitched and chaotic. Yet, against all odds, Leon managed to conquer that corrupting energy and make it his own, earning him the legendary system-defying title of the Underworld Transcendent in her eyes. Looking at him softly, she admits she has been watching his entire painful journey from the start, witnessing him fight a million monsters completely alone after losing everyone he ever considered family. A brutal period of endless suffering that nearly broke his spirit in the dark depths. She could do absolutely nothing but watch in silence until the gate was finally opened. Revealing her true identity as the goddess's angel, she asks him to save this new world, though she sweetly adds that fulfilling his personal desire for revenge is her top priority. Leon quietly absorbs this massive revelation, his resolve hardening as he prepares for the coming storm. Leon stares at his hand, reminding himself that he is only borrowing this body for now, but he still promises his little spirit companion that he will defeat Shark no matter what, prompting a beaming Luna to happily vow that she will support him every step of the way. Suddenly, a loud ringtone breaks the quiet moment as our boy receives an unexpected phone call, leaving both of them completely puzzled as he pulls out his device to check the screen. Heading down to the reception office, he prepares to meet with the association's higher-ups, where Vice Branch Chief Nahama greets him with a smug grin, noting how unusually happy he looks. Our hero casually asks what is going on, only for the chief to tease a major update, leaning back with a mysterious look as he prepares to drop some highly classified information. Before he can speak, his phone suddenly buzzes, forcing him to excuse himself to answer his subordinates, who frantically report that a Category Blue gate has just manifested out of nowhere. Nahama casually dismisses the threat, telling them to handle a minor gate on their own, until the panicked caller quickly stammers that the location of this gate is the real issue. Stepping outside, the entire group looks up in absolute horror as glowing pink petals rain from the sky, revealing the city is being overrun by the exact same demonic flowers from the underground cavern. A panicked scout rushes over to report the situation to the Vice Branch Chief, only to suddenly choke and collapse as a toxic red aura violently grips his body, crashing heavily onto the floor right in front of the stunned onlookers. Checking the fallen scout, the blonde man realizes the demonic flower's pollen is actively poisoning the air, while Nihama grimly turns to Leon, revealing this deadly outbreak was the warning he meant to deliver. Leon pulls out the mysterious pink vial they recovered from the underground facility, explaining that their top researchers just finished analyzing the strange liquid inside, revealing these demonic flowers possess the terrifying ability to drain a mage mana. This shocking revelation catches the student group completely off guard as they process the threat, realizing the fallen scout was likely poisoned by this exact same energy-draining effect. Fortunately, Leon notes the pollen only affects those below a certain mana threshold, but evacuating the helpless civilians is still going to be an absolute nightmare, prompting our hero to leave the outside defense to the association's capable hands. Nahama agrees to take charge of the chaotic situation on the outside, sighing deeply as he accepts his role in managing the civilian evacuation, demanding that Leon's team successfully clear the gate in exchange for his help. With their roles decided, the young hunters prepare to dive into the portal. Stepping through the glowing rift, their boots instantly sink into deep, freezing snow, unveiling a massive, blizzard-torn mountain range hidden inside this incredibly hostile gate. This sheer intensity of the storm makes them realize this is no ordinary blue-rank dungeon. While Sion silently connects the freezing environment to Shark's sinister master plan, clenching his fist, our protagonist vows to stop his nemesis no matter what, leading his trusted companions forward as they brave the howling winds together, until a sudden overwhelming wave of absorption violently hits the glasses-wearing student, leaving the entire vanguard collapsed in the snow as the trap is sprung. A massive glowing ice monster suddenly towers over the group, catching them completely off guard. Although their journey through the gate started smoothly with several easy victories against minor beasts, this giant icy threat blocks their path forward, radiating a freezing and hostile aura. This glasses-wearing student calmly identifies the beast as a Frost Gigas, a common blue-rank boss, explaining that while its strikes are incredibly powerful, its slow movements make it an easy target. Raising its massive fist, the giant monster prepares to crush the intruders with a single blow, slamming its heavy hand down to shatter the frozen ground and create a massive shockwave. But a blinding beam of golden light suddenly pierces straight through its rocky face, followed by a barrage of energy arrows that relentlessly bombard the beast from all sides. Deep cracks begin to spread across its icy head as the beast grunts in pain, revealing their glasses-wearing companion is actually a highly skilled archer wielding a glowing light bow. Seizing the perfect opening, Makoto leaps high into the air to deliver a fiery follow-up strike, leaving Leon to step forward and prepare his massive dark scythe for the final blow. With a swift and clean slash, our protagonist cuts through the giant beast with absolute precision, shattering its glowing core and leaving the massive creature completely helpless against their coordinated assault. Icy particles shower the battlefield as the giant boss completely disintegrates from the impact. Suddenly, a wave of exhaustion washes over his body as he lands on the snow. Makoto rushes over in a panic, asking if he is all right as he struggles to stand. His eyes widen in pure shock as he realizes his mana is being violently drained away. Looking down to discover the snow is covered in the exact same demonic flowers from before. Red energy violently erupts from the demonic flowers, supercharging the giant beast with a corruptive aura. This sudden power-up leaves the glasses-wearing student completely terrified as the monster raises its fist. Concentrating all that toxic red energy into its massive hand, the beast prepares to strike. A devastating shockwave rips through the snowy battlefield, completely shattering the ground beneath their feet. Leon struggles to hold his ground against the blinding blast, cursing under his breath as the pressure mounts, while his teammates are violently thrown through the freezing air by the sheer force of the explosion. Picking himself up, the archer realizes this boss is using attacks far beyond its normal blue rank limits. As Luna frantically checks on our protagonist to make sure he survived that devastating blow, Makoto quickly rushes over to help the others, desperately asking if everyone is still in one piece. But the mutated giant continues to tower over them, fueled by the demonic flowers corrupting miasma, prompting Leon to realize they cannot survive another hit and must launch a preemptive strike immediately. He channels his dark attribute magic once more, aiming directly for the monster's glowing core, unleashing a massive blast of destructive pressure that collides violently with the beast's rocky chest. Although the team initially hopes the attack worked, their companion quickly shuts down any premature celebration, revealing the mutated boss is still standing tall with its glowing core completely unharmed, leaving our hero to realize its defense has boosted, requiring an even stronger spell to pierce it, until his little spirit companion suggests unleashing that one high-tier spell he had been keeping in reserve. Sensing his hesitation, his trusted allies look back at him with unwavering trust in their eyes. When Makoto asks if he has a plan, prompting Leon to admit he has a devastating spell in mind. But since he needs time to gather mana, his brave companions confidently vow to buy him every second. Determined to buy him time, his exhausted teammates declare they can still fight to draw the beast's attention. Leon nods silently in response, accepting their support as he prepares to unleash his ultimate magic. Charging forward with everything they have left, the brave duo rushes straight toward the towering threat. This mutated ice monster is furiously, completely focused on the two hunters daring to challenge it. While Makoto prepares a fiery distraction, the giant beast swings its massive fist down to crush them. Closing his eyes to concentrate, our protagonist begins to visualize the complex structure of his spell. Red fire and purple dark magic violently swirl in his hands as he merges the opposing elements. His companions glance back in absolute shock, sensing the absurd amount of mana radiating from him. Sensing the danger, the giant monster begins charging its core for another devastating area of effect blast. But the two vanguard hunters relentlessly bombard the beast to keep its attention away from Leon. Even as the monster struggles against their combined assault, its corrupted core continues to glow brightly. Finally completing his incantation, our hero unleashes a massive vortex of fused dark and fire magic. Shouting the name of his devastating spell, he sends the black flame strike tearing across the battlefield. This colossal dark fire tornado completely engulfs the screaming beast, melting its icy armor to pieces. Watching from a safe distance, his teammates are left utterly speechless by his ability to fuse attributes. This mutated boss is violently torn apart by the overwhelming pressure, completely disintegrating into the air. As the massive dust cloud clears, Leon stands victorious over the shattered remains of the giant monster. Running over to him, his relieved allies happily celebrate their hard-fought victory against all odds. However, our protagonist remains deeply troubled, realizing this raid has uncovered a far more sinister plot. Staring grimly at the blooming demonic flowers, he worries about the chaos if this corruption spreads to other gates. A mysterious villain notes that even the monsters enhanced by the demonic flowers have been defeated, but he remains completely unfazed by the setback as a sinister plan forms in his mind, turning his attention toward a glowing red altar to initiate the final stage of their dark ritual, which will soon trigger the terrifying revival of the legendary demon King Belfar. A few days later, Leon and his team find themselves locked in relentless, exhausting battles, realizing the demonic flowers are actively supercharging every monster they encounter across the region, prompting widespread panic as news of the outbreak forces entire districts to evacuate immediately, while the students at the Magic Academy gather in absolute confusion over the sudden crisis, leading Headmaster Janice to order a complete relocation to keep them safe from the spreading poison. Meanwhile, a massive wave of determination begins to stir within the prestigious Saber Academy, where their leader rallies the student body to join the fight alongside the active hunters, declaring that they cannot simply sit back while their city is slowly torn apart, which instantly ignites a roaring wave of motivation throughout the entire crowd. Out on the streets, Vice Branch Chief Nahama takes full command of the chaotic defense operations, coordinating directly with Leon's group to aggressively clear the corrupted gates popping up everywhere. Fortunately, their combined efforts pay off as they successfully seal another dangerous portal, leaving Makoto to admit that the Saber members' timely assistance was a massive lifesaver. Still, our protagonist remains deeply troubled, knowing the red flowers are making raids increasingly difficult, as his little spirit companion asks if Prince Shark is ultimately behind this entire nightmare, forcing the exhausted team to wonder how much longer they can endure this brutal onslaught. Leon recalls Shark's parting words, promising to settle their score in their next inevitable encounter. Staring into the sunset, our protagonist wonders what kind of twisted scheme his nemesis is cooking up next. Meanwhile, a peaceful bird glides over the bustling academy grounds as the evening light fades. Suddenly, the group's attention is drawn toward a series of loud, chaotic noises echoing nearby. A massive elemental blast suddenly detonates in the middle of the school's training grounds, revealing dozens of eager students actively sparring and unleashing their magic in intense practice battles. This unexpected sight leaves Leon completely bewildered as he wonders why nobody has evacuated yet. Before he can ask, Headmaster Janus approaches the group with a warm and welcoming smile. This headmaster praises their latest victory, while Leon humbly credits the Saber Academy for their crucial assistance. Still, our hero remains confused, questioning why these young mages are still hanging around the danger zone. Janus explains that the students flat out refuse to run away like helpless children anymore. Smiling proudly, the headmaster reveals that Leon's heroic actions have deeply moved the entire student body. Instead of fleeing, they practically beg the faculty to teach them how to survive real combat. Leveraging his past experience as an instructor, Janus happily agreed to nurture their newfound fighting spirit. Out on the field, the exhausted trainees refuse to quit, pushing their limits with relentless determination. Watching their passion, a soft and genuinely relieved smile finally spreads across our protagonist's face. Their glasses-wearing archer companion takes a sip of water, noting that their dedication is hard to criticize. Makoto cheerfully chimes in, agreeing that they cannot complain about having more allies on their side. But the archer quickly points out that this entire cultural shift is actually Leon's doing, explaining that seeing the Academy's former worst student rise to greatness inspired everyone to step up. Makoto smiles warmly, noting how Leon's incredible growth has completely changed the mindset of the entire Academy. Our protagonist quietly processes this revelation, realizing his desperate struggle has actually inspired his peers. Suddenly, their glasses-wearing archer companion spots a familiar face down on the dusty training grounds, prompting the entire group to peer over the balcony to see who is making such a racket, revealing the notorious delinquent Makabe training his crystal magic despite his terrible reputation with the student council. Hearing this, Leon's little spirit companion is shocked that his former bully is actually putting in real effort. While down below, the stubborn redhead snaps at a classmate who warns him not to overexert himself. Driven by pure spite, Makibi refuses to fall behind the guy he used to look down on, demanding his sparring partners keep coming at him without giving him a single moment to rest. This archer chuckles, teasing our hero about his undeniable influence over even the school's worst troublemakers, bringing a soft, reflective smile to Leon's face as he looks out over the bustling field. He briefly recalls his painful past as a weak, bullied student who could only weep in silence, wishing his old self could witness this incredible scene of unity before a sudden dark energy erupts, instantly catching our protagonist off guard as a massive purple haze violently sweeps across the sky. Panic immediately spreads through the onlookers as the ominous dark mist begins to choke out the light, leaving the exhausted trainees to stare up in absolute confusion at the sudden unnatural atmospheric shift. Even the instructors look on in dread, noting how rapidly the bright evening sky is turning pitch black. At that exact moment, Luna screams for Leon to look down at the ground beneath their feet, forcing his eyes to widen in pure horror as he recognizes the terrifying threat manifesting below. Dozens of demonic red flowers bloom across the training field, instantly draining the helpless mages of their mana. Looking down from the balcony, the group watches in horror as demonic red flowers blanket the entire field. Before anyone can react, massive pillars of destructive light erupt violently from the sky, unleashing a swarm of terrifying flying beasts that immediately send the trainees into a total panic. Our heroes can only watch in absolute dread as the peaceful academy instantly turns into a war zone, while Leon grits his teeth in pure rage, realizing his worst nightmare is unfolding right before his eyes. High above the chaos, a mysterious blonde villain chuckles softly as he overlooks the spreading red plague, declaring with a sinister smirk that it is finally time to begin their grand harvest. Back on the ground, the newly opened gates continue to vomit out endless waves of vicious monsters, leaving the helpless trainees completely surrounded as the flying beasts descend upon them from all sides. Suddenly, one of the students collapses to his knees, completely paralyzed by a sudden loss of strength, prompting his terrified classmate to rush over in confusion, completely unaware of the invisible danger lurking below, only to realize the demonic red flowers are actively draining every drop of mana from their bodies. Sensing their weakness, a pack of mutated wolves lunges forward to tear the defenseless mages apart, forcing the remaining students to scream in absolute despair as death stares them right in the face. But our protagonist and his elite team instantly leap into action, unleashing a barrage of elemental magic, obliterating the incoming beasts in a flash of light to shield their juniors from the brutal onslaught. Leon slides gracefully to the front lines, positioning himself as an unbreakable shield for the fallen trainees. Standing tall alongside Makoto, he confidently tells the panicked students to leave the fighting to them. Although Makoto admits this sudden outbreak is completely abnormal, she refuses to back down from the challenge. While our hero stares grimly at the massive gates, preparing to face the ultimate test of his strength, Luna suddenly alerts Leon that she has detected a strange magical reaction nearby, pointing toward a dark silhouette standing amidst the ominous red glow of the forest. Confirming that Prince Shark is indeed lurking close by with a sinister grin, which instantly sends a wave of pure fury rushing directly through our protagonist. He suddenly recalls Shido's chilling warning about the academy students being treated as mere food, realizing those demonic red flowers are actively harvesting mana to fuel some greater evil. Noticing his sudden change in expression, his glasses-wearing archer companion asks what is wrong, prompting Leon to explain that the mastermind from the underground facility is definitely here. His teammates gasp in horror, realizing the entire school has become a primary target, but our hero knows for a fact that Shark is pulling the strings, as flying monsters continue to rain devastating fireballs down upon the crumbling academy grounds. This brave archer steps forward, telling Leon to leave this battlefield to them, knowing full well that their stubborn leader would never back down from a fight. Makoto smiles warmly, reminding him that saving the world is their shared goal anyway. Charging straight into the chaotic fray, the determined allies prepare to hold the line, unleashing a barrage of elemental spells to push back the encroaching horde of beasts. They fearlessly clash with giant mutated wolves, refusing to let a single monster pass. Suddenly, Leon's eyes widen in shock as a massive red serpent lunges forward, slicing the beast in half with a powerful burst of purple dark magic. Still, Luna panics as endless waves of monsters continue to swarm the battlefield. Headmaster Janus steps forward with absolute confidence, telling our protagonist not to worry about the chaos, channeling his advanced Earth attribute magic to unleash a devastating counterattack against the invading horde, slamming down a massive spell called Crushing Pressure directly onto a giant red serpent, which triggers a chain reaction of destructive light pillars that obliterate everything in their path, leaving the surrounding area littered with defeated mutated wolves as the dust slowly begins to settle. Leon can only watch in absolute awe, calling out to the headmaster in sheer disbelief, while Janus proudly declares that he will protect every single student under his watch. But the peace is short-lived as a massive crystal golem suddenly emerges from a nearby portal, catching our protagonist completely off guard as he senses another powerful threat entering the battlefield, turning around only to realize a very familiar face has already jumped into the fray. It is Maccabi, who unleashes a crystal-infused punch with a roaring battle cry to smash the beast, even as those pesky demonic red flowers wrap around his leg to drain his mana, prompting the stubborn redhead to ask Leon if the mastermind behind this nightmare is nearby, acknowledging that they have a lot of unresolved history between them that needs to be addressed, before deciding that right now is the perfect moment to finally set things straight. Looking Leon dead in the eye, the former bully admits he completely underestimated him, delivering a genuine, heartfelt apology that leaves our stunned protagonist completely speechless for a moment, as he charges back into battle, yelling at Leon to go handle the boss since he is the strongest, allowing our hero to watch his former rival fearlessly lead the charge against the giant golem. Janice reassures him that reinforcements are already on the way to secure the academy grounds. Clenching his fist, Leon prepares to confront the mastermind behind this entire nightmare, sprinting away from the main battlefield to hunt down his nemesis once and for all. while the red plague continues to spread rapidly across the entire academy grounds. Our hero's boots slam heavily onto the wooden deck of the secluded overlook, bringing him face to face with the sinister mastermind waiting patiently in the shadows. Glaring with absolute hatred, Leon demands answers from the smug blonde prince, who only chuckles softly, completely unfazed by our protagonist's sudden and furious arrival. Turning around with a wicked smirk, Shark admits he expected him to show up sooner, prompting Leon to demand why he is targeting innocent students at the academy. This villain explains it is all for a grand harvest of raw magical energy, revealing those demonic red flowers are actively draining every drop of mana they touch, all to fuel a massive ritual meant to summon the terrifying Demon King, which will grant Shark unimaginable power once the ancient evil is fully revived. Down below, the chaotic battle serves as the perfect catalyst for this dark ceremony, forcing Leon to realize his nemesis has been working with Belfar all along, but the smug prince reveals he has been conducting secret experiments for years. During his preparations, Shark noticed a strange anomaly constantly interfering with his plans, a mystery he claims to have finally solved in the truest sense, leaving our protagonist completely stunned as he wonders what the villain actually knows. Before Shark drops a massive bombshell claiming he finally knows Leon's true identity, Shark leans in with a wicked grin, asking Leon if he is actually from another world. Our protagonist freezes in absolute shock, realizing his deepest secret has been completely exposed. This smug chuckles at Leon's stunned reaction, thoroughly enjoying his sudden psychological advantage, prompting our hero to grit his teeth and demand exactly how long he has known. It turns out his suspicions began the moment he read Shidu's report about a weakling suddenly awakening, and those doubts turned to absolute certainty when he witnessed Leon's bizarre dark attribute magic, which perfectly matched the terrifying presence he had previously sensed deep inside that mysterious cave. Furious, Leon demands to know why a ruler seeking supremacy in another world is even here, but the villain simply dismisses the question, asking if his method of arrival even matters. Sensing the intense hatred radiating from our hero, Shark eagerly invites him to start their battle, mockingly asking if it would excite him more if he slaughtered the helpless academy students first. This final threat pushes our protagonist over the edge, his face darkening with pure, unbridled rage, summoning his massive purple scythe as he coldly accepts the challenge to end this nightmare, promising to drag the arrogant prince straight to hell as he prepares to strike. This villain merely giggles at the display of spirit, completely unfazed by the sudden surge of power, warning Leon not to get ahead of himself while channeling a bright golden energy. But our hero is already airborne, swinging his massive scythe down with devastating force, pouring every ounce of his fury into a single decisive strike to crush his nemesis. This dark slash collides violently with a golden magic circle, triggering a massive blinding explosion. As the smoke clears, Leon gasps in disbelief, realizing his ultimate attack barely left a scratch. Shark smugly dismisses Leon's attack, claiming he has already seen this level of power before, and with a wicked grin, the prince declares that such tricks will never work on him. Suddenly, a massive beam of golden light erupts from his magic circle, blasting directly toward our hero, forcing Leon to block the devastating energy with his scythe while struggling to hold his ground. This villain boasts that his real body is incomparable to the weak clones he used before, unleashing a terrifying pillar of light attribute magic to completely overwhelm our protagonist's defenses. This brutal blast sends Leon crashing violently back down to the dirt, skidding across the battlefield. He coughs up blood from the sheer impact, feeling the immense weight of the prince's power. While his worried companion rushes to his side, our hero can only curse his current weakness, staring up in disbelief as he tries to analyze the strange properties of that golden barrier. Shark proudly explains that his absolute barrier is a perfect defense designed to block all incoming magic. Raising his hand, the smug prince prepares to deliver a final, miserable end to our protagonist. Refusing to back down, Leon desperately reaches out to launch a counterattack of his own, summoning his dark chains of restraint to bind the arrogant villain before he can strike again. Unfortunately, the dark purple chains merely shatter against the glowing golden shield without leaving a scratch. Multiple barriers manifest around the prince, effortlessly deflecting every single link of Leon's binding spell. Our hero gasps in shock, realizing his dark magic is completely useless against this absolute defense, as Shark coldly reminds him that any further struggle is entirely pointless. Another devastating beam of golden light rains down from the sky to obliterate our defenseless protagonist. But Leon quickly summons his Mirror of Rejection to create a massive swirling shield of dark energy. Leon's Mirror of Rejection collides with the golden beam, but the energy suddenly starts to warp, leaving our protagonist in absolute shock as he realizes his opponent is using a reflection barrier, sending his own devastating dark magic hurtling right back toward him with double the force, triggering a massive explosion that completely engulfs the overlook in a blinding flash of light. Emerging from the smoke, our battered hero barely manages to stand on his trembling legs, while the smug prince merely chuckles, mocking Leon for barely avoiding a fatal blow. Shark proudly boasts that no amount of dark magic can ever hope to pierce his defense, forcing our desperate protagonist to grit his teeth while frantically searching for a way out. But the villain coldly points out that dodging is no longer an option in his state, prompting a terrified Luna to watch the grim scene unfold from the sidelines in horror. She hates feeling completely useless, refusing to let her companion face this nightmare alone again, clenching her tiny fists as she resolves to do whatever it takes to help him, just as the arrogant prince prepares to unleash his final game-ending strike. Out of nowhere, the brave little spirit lunges forward and tackles the smug villain directly, catching both Shark and our stunned protagonist completely off guard by her sudden intervention. Gritting his teeth in pure annoyance, the blonde prince struggles to shake off his tiny attacker, before violently throwing her aside with a furious shout to get out of his way, knocking poor Luna down as she crashes brutally onto the wooden deck. Leon immediately rushes to her side, his heart sinking as she groans in pain, as the heartless prince merely brushes himself off, completely dismissing her sacrifice as utterly meaningless. Shark channels his ultimate spell, unleashing a colossal pillar of blinding golden light, while the smug prince declares he is going to bury everyone here together. Looking at the incoming devastation, our hero realizes that getting hit means absolute defeat, especially since failing here would mean losing Luna and everyone else fighting below. This terrifying thought of losing everything again in this new world completely paralyzes him, but he quickly snaps out of it, refusing to give up on his allies. Clenching his teeth, the kid prepares to take a massive gamble to survive this, standing tall in front of his fallen companion with one final trick up his sleeve. This smug prince merely laughs at his resolve, mocking him for choosing to die protecting a child, before unleashing the full force of his golden blast directly at our defenseless protagonist. A violent explosion rocks the entire area, kicking up a massive cloud of dust, and the villain smiles triumphantly, expecting nothing but ashes to remain from the strike. Suddenly, his smug expression completely vanishes as he senses a bizarre surge of energy, staring in absolute disbelief at the silhouette standing perfectly intact amidst the smoke, leaving the arrogant prince completely speechless as he tries to comprehend what just happened. Swirling golden and dark energy wraps around our hero, defying the laws of magic, prompting the terrified villain to realize Leon is somehow channeling his own light attribute magic. Sweating profusely, the blonde prince curses under his breath as his absolute advantage crumbles, wondering if this crazy kid actually managed to absorb his mana during that direct hit. While a dazed Luna looks up, realizing her companion has unlocked something even more terrifying. Shark realizes in horror that Leon has somehow fused the absorbed light with his own dark magic, while Luna watches in awe, remembering how her companion previously used dark magic to siphon mana, though doing it on this colossal scale requires an almost impossible level of precision. This massive golden beam is completely neutralized, swirling harmlessly around our hero's weapon, leaving the little spirit completely speechless at the sheer genius of his high-stakes gamble. Standing tall amidst the swirling energy, Leon coldly declares that his dangerous bet has officially paid off, telling the arrogant prince to prepare himself as a brand new power flares in his hand. But the villain merely scowls, refusing to believe this sudden turn of events changes anything. This villain desperately raises his hand to manifest his absolute golden barrier once again, only for our protagonist to instantly lunge forward and slash right through the glowing shield. Blood splatters as the smug prince gasps in sheer disbelief, his ultimate defense shattered, unable to comprehend how a mere human could pierce his supposedly perfect barrier. Leon calmly explains that his newly fused light attribute completely bypasses the shield's properties. Clutching his wounded arm, the blonde prince stumbles backward as his smug composure finally crumbles, while our hero glares with absolute fury, ready to repay every single ounce of suffering. Surprisingly, the injured villain begins to chuckle, his initial shock twisting back into a manic grin. He laughs hysterically, praising the legendary hero for creating a brand new spell in the heat of battle, before stepping back toward the field of demonic red flowers to draw upon their dark energy, which immediately surges into his body, wrapping his wounded arm in a sinister, corrupting glow. Our protagonist can only watch in disgust as Shark proudly unleashes the terrifying power of the Demon King. Leon glares at his opponent, realizing the prince has indeed allied with the Demon King Belfar, and Shark smugly confirms his dark pact, boasting about being personally acknowledged by the Supreme Demon. This revelation takes a darker turn when the villain casually mentions eliminating some major royal nuisances, prompting our hero to ask in absolute horror if he actually murdered the king and princess. Our hero points out that those two trusted the prince blindly until their very last moments, remembering how they desperately defended his honor and refused to believe he could ever betray them. Instead of showing remorse, the blonde prince merely smiles, calling them annoying obstacles that had to go. A grim flashback reveals the tragic scene of the royal family lying lifeless on the bloody floor, right when the voice of the Demon King first echoed inside the traitor's mind, promising him the ultimate gift of eternal life in exchange for helping with his grand resurrection. Shark explains that while conquering this magic-rich world was necessary, immortality sounded far sweeter than temporary rule, leaving our protagonist trembling with a mixture of pure disgust and overwhelming rage. Clenching his fists, Leon demands to know how anyone could commit such a heartless atrocity, but the smug prince simply grins, asking if the answer isn't already completely obvious, before looking him dead in the eye to declare his deep, burning hatred for our hero. He recalls how Leon was always praised by the masses, earning everyone's trust and admiration, screaming that our protagonist must have felt incredibly superior while basking in all that glorious light. This jealousy drove him to systematically destroy everything Leon held dear just to shatter his perfect life, ultimately kicking him down into the deepest abyss of despair during their fateful encounter, and leaving the villain standing victorious, ready to claim his prize of eternal life. Shark laughs maniacally at his own twisted betrayal, but our hero refuses to let him speak further, channeling his dark aura as he warns the prince to stop dragging innocent people into his mess. Remembering all the brave souls who fought selflessly to protect this world from total destruction, recalling his loyal allies who risked everything while this traitor chased nothing but cheap, selfish power, and declaring that the villain's pathetic ambition can never match the true devotion of his friends. This sudden declaration catches the smug prince completely off guard, his arrogant smile instantly faltering, while Leon takes a heavy step forward, swearing to never let him steal another life again. Swirling both light and dark magic together, our hero prepares to end this nightmare once and for all. But the manic prince merely cackles, welcoming the challenge as demonic flames erupt around him. This villain unleashes a massive torrent of corrupt energy, screaming that he will cast Leon back into hell. Looking back at his injured companion, our protagonist calmly reassures her that everything will be fine, clenching his fist with absolute resolve as he promises to walk away from this battle victorious. High above the battlefield, the traitor summons a colossal sphere of fire to mark his new reign, sending the devastating sunlight blast hurtling downward to erase our hero from existence. Refusing to back down, Leon glares directly at the incoming doom with fierce determination in his eyes, launching his own massive vortex of fused magic to intercept the descending apocalyptic strike. These two colossal forces collide in a blinding explosion, tearing the very sky apart as they clash, while a terrifying fiery skull manifests within the prince's attack to overwhelm our hero's defenses. Shockwaves ripple through the entire area as the desperate struggle for survival reaches its absolute peak, leaving the traitor gritting his teeth in sheer frustration as Leon's power refuses to break. These two massive spells grind against each other, creating a volatile vortex of pure destruction, until Leon's fused magic pierces straight through the center of the prince's apocalyptic blast, leaving the traitorous prince completely frozen in horror as his ultimate trump card completely fails, while Luna realizes her companion has been holding back his true output this entire time. Every single battle he fought in the past was just preparation for this exact moment, refining his control over his dark mana until it reached absolute flawless perfection, and now that refined power erupts in a devastating burst that completely overwhelms the villain. Our hero delivers the final, decisive blow, declaring that the traitor's reign of terror is officially over, as a colossal pillar of devastating purple energy completely swallows the screaming prince in its wake, tearing apart his borrowed demonic power and leaving him utterly defenseless against the onslaught, prompting the arrogant villain to scream in absolute denial as his body begins to disintegrate. He vanishes into nothingness, unable to comprehend how a mere human could defeat his immortal form. Golden particles rain down over the quiet forest as the terrifying demonic energy finally dissipates, clearing the corrupted red sky and bringing a peaceful sunset back to the battered kingdom, while the exhausted soldiers below look up in absolute awe at the sudden miraculous victory, leaving our legendary protagonist standing tall on the overlook with his loyal spirit companion by his side. Leon stares into the horizon, ready to face whatever new challenges this fantasy world throws his way.